like everyone should come along with me. We are going live on YouTube in 3, 2, 1, and welcome to week 4 of the extraordinary life course. We know we're ready because Trevor's here, and we've been looking forward to this for a long time.
Trevor's the man.
Week 4 is true self-care, and we've been teasing you with this for some time. It's not bubble baths and chocolates, but what is it? What is it? If true self-care is not a spa day, what is true self-care? And for me, self-care is not chocolates and a bubble bath. Self-care is designing a life that you don't actually want to escape from. It's designing a life that you are excited to be in. You don't need to run away to the spa. You don't need to hide in the bath. You've got a life that lights you up.
Let's go one step further than that. Not only do you not feel the need to escape from it, you're so excited and you're so juiced about that life. You don't even want to fall asleep because you're like, I want this time to do stuff and build on these projects that I'm doing, whatever it is, and to keep going and to not want to fall asleep. And if you're counting down to the weekend, wishing your time away, wishing your life away, something in your week is broken. We need to fix that. We need to start building a life that you're excited about, that gives you juice, that makes you want to get up, jumping out of bed full of excitement for the day.
Have you ever experienced the Sunday night blues? That feeling that I'm not really excited about Monday. Sometimes it didn't come in the evening. Sometimes it came at lunchtime for me. Lydia says every single Sunday. After I'd started my own business and I started to enjoy what I was doing, the Sunday night blues disappeared. But interestingly, it came back. And I remember one specific weekend where I was dreading the Monday and I had the Sunday night blues. I felt like I didn't want to do it. And I remember speaking to Simon about this, and my realization was the reason I had it was because I felt we weren't prepared for the course that was coming on Monday, and I was worried about it going badly. And so that gave me, and I knew it was the same feeling as when I'd worked in certain jobs. And we just want to reposition as the Sunday night blues as a clue that something isn't working. Something's not right. Like, it's just a sign. It's a feeling that shows you something is not working. Like if you're counting down the Friday and desperate to get away from it all. Some people count down from Wednesday. They call it hump day. And they're like, okay, I'm over the hump. I'm on the tail end of the weekend.
We used to do it as a percentage. You'd be like 60% of the way there after Wednesday had happened. 80%.
Plus you to make a graph out of it, Katie. It's just a day. You've turned it into a spreadsheet. What the hell?
And all of this is not to say that you don't want to escape from life sometimes and do things. What we're trying to say is you don't need to escape life.
Yeah, because someone
choose to escape it.
Someone put in the chat, but I like chocolate. I'm not saying you can't have chocolate. You just choose to have chocolate, not because you need to get away from your standard life.
And that's the key bit. It's building a life you don't want to run from. You don't want to escape from. You're actually excited to live every day. And that is the key to all of this, because if you're waking up pumped, excited, wanting to do things, if you want to build your life and work on it and hang out with the people you've got in it, and you've got the relationships and the work and the fun stuff, and it's all coming together, life is an incredible joy that you're excited to do. And it can feel the total opposite, and we understand that. And that's the key bit here, is let's start working on your life to get to the one that you're excited. And in some areas, you're already there. You're already living the life you really want to live.
And Simone says, get me the hell out of here. Simone, you've only just got here. At least stay for a bit, and then you can decide whether to get the hell out of here or not.
It's been 4 minutes.
It's been 4 minutes. To build the life you want to live, it takes energy. It takes action, it takes drive, it takes creativity. This stuff isn't easy to do. It takes that energy. So what we need to do is build the energy, look after you so that you have the juice, the energy, the drive to create the life you want to create.
And it's about consistently looking after yourself. It's not about, I'm going to go to the gym one day and then health, fitness, tick. done. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. The key is consistency, day after day after day, so that you have the energy to live the life you want to live, so that you pay the price, as it were, to have that energy, and almost like learn to enjoy looking after yourself, because you know that you'll reap the benefits from it.
Because if you wake up full of energy, if you wake up excited about life, it's a completely different world. And that's what we want to get to. So if we focus on the basics, if we get the basics of getting your energy, your state right, then we can help you have the energy to create the life you want to. And Kingsley says, this is one of the two things my husband says I repeatedly say is, I'm tired. And if you're constantly saying I'm tired throughout the day, you don't have the energy to give you can't create the life you want. So we need to get this bit right so that you have that energy. Erin says exactly the same.
I'm curious what the other thing that your husband said.
I know. What's the second thing? Tell us. And I did want to tell you, one of my realizations, I repeat this thing that the extraordinary is created. The extraordinary belongs to those that create it. And one of the realizations I've had is the extraordinary is rooted in the mundane. And what I mean by that is it is built by the simple daily actions, because everyone's like, I must do something extraordinary, and they head out to do big things, which is great. But if you want to get to the extraordinary level of financial independence, save a little bit each day, invest a little bit each day. If you want to get to the extraordinary level of fitness, then work out a little bit each day. Do the simple things each day. The extraordinary, building a business is about making a few sales calls every single day, working on the pitch every single day. And that, for me, is the biggest realization, is extraordinary is made up of small actions that compound and build over time. And they're not even extraordinary actions. They're just small things.
I think even like saying mundane makes it, well, it sounds boring, doesn't it? It's like, but I think from the outside, it looks mundane, but that's why you've got to fall in love with the process of doing it. And we'll talk more about that this week. But it's enjoying that process, because otherwise you'll give up.
Exactly. And Rosemary says, I'm getting sick every 2 weeks. I don't really know if I'm with negative energy or I just need vitamins. Well, like, why not? Let's work on all of it and help create that energy. Because if you're losing 2 weeks every fortnight, every two days every fortnight, like, it's really tough to make progress on creating what you want to do. So we need to build strong foundations. So you wake up with the energy, you've got the juice to be able to live the life you want to live. And when we talk about the foundations, the cost of creating the life you want is the time, energy, and action you put into it every day. And I think we've spoken about the last couple of weeks, you can have anything you want in life if you're willing to pay the price up front and in full. The cost is rarely money. The cost is your energy, your time, and your effort. And that, like, if you don't have the energy to create it, it's really difficult to be able to do it. So let's work on this and get it going. And someone says this is an old photo. Some of our photos are very old.
Especially the ones of Simon. So
wait. Hold your horses just for a second. Here's the thing, like, I'm just reading some of these comments, and it made me think that the comment about what Kingsley said, this is one of the two things my husband says, I'm tired. Like, we're going to be looking at about where energy comes from in a second, but I just want to talk to that for a second, because the thinking about the thing is really tiring in itself. So for anyone that's kind of overthinking the fact that, oh no, I've got Sunday night blues, why am I thinking like this? That in itself is exhausting. And when I read Rosemary's comment, it made me think straight away. The question I wanted to ask you, Rosemary, is how's your sleep? How's your sleep going? Because if you're getting poorly, it might, like, it's just letting you know that something's going on here. And as we dive into some of the sections a little bit later, I think there's going to be some stuff. Yeah, I had a feeling, Rosemary. I had a feeling. So when we dive into the next section, like, really look out for the bits that you think are most likely to be. It's almost like you'll feel Alan and Katie's eyes like staring at you, and you go, oh yeah, I think this was the bit that they meant really listen to. And Sandy's comment, the boring stuff will make or break you. Like, even like the word boring in itself, we've already attached a story to what, like the word mundane, we've already attached a story to this stuff. And I just want you to look out for that, because like sometimes in jest, like we're joking around, we might use different words, but actually it plants the seed in our minds that something straight away is boring. Like, what if you could make it fun? What if you could make it interesting? What if it wasn't boring? Actually, what if you were looking after the future you? Like, that to me is actually potentially really exciting. And I heard it on the news today, like in the UK at the moment, for those of us in the UK, you know, we're in a cold snap. And the newscast, the weather reporter this morning on the radio said, it's bitterly cold outside today. And I was like, wow, like I'm stood outside and it's a bit chilly, but bitterly cold. And they said, yeah, the temperature won't get above 0. I'm like, wow. And people in Denmark are literally running across the sea at the moment because the sea is frozen. Yet the story that they've attached to UK weather is bitterly cold. Just look out for the stories, folks. Reminder from last week. Alan, where does energy come from?
This is a question for everyone in the chat. Is it Eon? No, I think their energy is quite pricey.
There are
Please put it
other
in the
energy
chat.
providers available.
Where does energy come from? Where does energy come from? Martin Buttery says, I eat too much chocolate. Is that where your energy comes from?
Lisa says from motion.
From motion. Ooh. Food, exercise, and dreams.
Mitochondria. Other people.
Diet, says Rihanna.
The parts of my life or job that I love give me energy, says Jane.
Jim, the people
Hi,
that surround you. Passion and chocolate, says Karen.
Exercise, inspiration, sleep, the sun. Passion, exercise, inspiration, laughter, balance, from within, dreams and desires. You guys give me energy, says Tahir. Oh,
I
thanks,
love
Tahir.
that.
So Amazon.
I think, like, what I wanted to say to you is the people who've said like diet or food, does energy really come from food? And yes, like a part of it. However, do you know anyone who eats a giant amount of food and doesn't have much energy? And it's really interesting when you think about it. Does energy come from diet and food? Like at a base level, yes. However, overconsumption has the opposite effect. How do you feel after a Sunday roast? How do you feel after a big meal? Darren says food coma. Like, it's really interesting, this bit. So where does energy actually come from? And what can we do to have more of that energy is the key bit where we're going. And people have got some really good ideas in the chat. There are some fantastic ideas in the chat. Why we're saying this is nearly everyone runs out of energy before they run out of time, us included. Like, no matter how much we work on our energy and our drive, and people say I have an insane amount of energy, but last night I was like, I can't do any more. I'm tired. There's no more. We need to just relax and do something else. There is no more I can give at this point. So we're going to focus on giving you the energy to build the life you want.
Well, we're not going to give them the energy. They're going to come up with
Well,
their own
you
energy.
could create your own energy. Exactly.
And so we're going to give you some clues as to how we might do this. And as we go through, you're probably going to sit there and think, this is really obvious. I know all of this. Like, this is not rocket science. Like, really? Like, you're telling me this basic stuff. You might know it, but are you doing it? Are you consistently having the good habits that you need to have to create the energy, have the health and vitality that you need?
So how did you get a picture of my car? I don't think I want, oh, you can't see the number plate. That's good. I just, my security is very important to me, guys. Right, a question for you folks. If you were allowed to choose any car that you wanted and it was completely free and it was going to be delivered to your door tomorrow morning, what car would you choose? Please stick it in the chat, everybody. Let's massively judge you by your car choices.
Lots of Teslas.
The first two were Teslas, Prius, Nissan Leaf, Fred Flintstone, genius. Use your legs.
Porsche,
environmentally friendly, and
Range Rover.
Claire says my Skoda. Big up to the Skodas. When I owned a car, I always owned Skodas.
Couple of Bugattis in there. Camper van.
Joshua Street says cheap VW Polo.
Aston Martin, a Yaris.
Skodas are the same, but cheaper.
Says,
Vintage.
Alan, wasn't it a Skoda
66
that you drove into a
Benz.
ditch?
Me?
Yeah. Didn't you?
No.
Oh,
I never crashed my two Skodas. I did have crashes when I was younger, but that was in my parents' cars.
Oh, that's okay then. There's someone else's. That's fine.
Not really. I was a very unhappy moment.
Jill wants the cash instead.
I love that. The most expensive thing, so I could sell it and invest the money, says Teresa. Teresa, you're genius. I love that. What's the point of this, Simon? Why are we talking cars?
I was waiting for someone to type Triumph Stag. That's the only reason I did that. And Nick's the cultured version here. He's not letting me down. Right. The thing about this, folks, is if that you knew that the car of your choice was going to be delivered tomorrow morning free of charge, but that was the only car that you were allowed to have for your entire life, how would you look after that car if you knew that that was the only car that you could have? And I think like the point of this for me, and by the way, I'm not great with cars, but here's the thing. If you've only got one car, you've got to look after it, right? You've got to service it. You've got to change the parts. You've got to make sure that it's got the right fuel in it, the right oil. You're going to make sure that that car is able to run for the entire time that you actually need it. It's a Warren Buffett. And I tell you what, Brady, when I saw him talk about that, it really struck me that, and he was telling this to a bunch of students, and what he said was, there's absolutely no way that you would treat your body like you currently treat your body if you had that sense of, wait, this is the only vehicle that I get to carry my mind around in for the entirety of my life. That's the point of this. So this session tonight, folks, is about, for all of us, is how we can better look after our bodies, because the link to energy is incredible.
And it's the only one you get. Yes, it's self-healing, but it's the only one you get. So what the key here is, I think, stop looking for the magic pill. And I think I'm talking to myself as much as everyone else.
Is this whole week designed for you, Alan?
It probably is. But like I was always looking for, what's the diet that will fix everything? What's the magic pill that will allow me to lose weight? What's the exercise regime that will fix everything? And it's the same in business. It's the same in life. It's like, what's the fancy Instagram thing that will fix my sales funnel? What's the course that will give me the secret strategy? It's the get rich quick scheme that fixes everything. And we need to stop looking for the magic pill and work on the basics, because the basics will help you to do everything. And we had a friend called Nikki who was a fitness coach.
Yeah, she was amazing. She had amazing physique. She exercised a lot. And she was always telling us, you have to get the basics right. You have to be able to do a squat correctly. And she would spend a lot of time each day making sure that she got those basics right, keeping her back straight, bending properly, doing the right angle, having the flexibility and mobility to be able to do this. And this is someone that could do all sorts of amazing things fitness wise, and she always came back to those basics.
She had an unbelievable physique, and she focused on doing the simple things repeatedly, and that's what we've got. The second part to this is, no one else is going to look after you. Like, they can't in the same way. You have to look after yourself. Anita and Dan are there. Like, Dan can't force Anita to sleep, and Anita can't force Dan to eat vegan. You can't do that. You have to look after yourself. And it's about looking after yourself and doing those basics. And it's also about spotting the stories we've got about it, because Kerry has immediately put, I don't like routine in the chat. And I think I would be going, oh, there's a story. What don't we like about routine? And thinking about finding a way we could do it. But we're going to come into the basics of this, of food, sleep, and exercise. Because if you get those right, it's unbelievable how much energy it gives you and the freedom to go and do crazy things and create. There is a short disclaimer though, Katie.
We're not medical professionals. We're just three people that have figured some stuff out about health. If you're unsure, please speak to your doctor. Your home is at risk if you don't repay your mortgage. Don't do anything stupid. There are no guarantees. However, there is one guarantee. You can have your money back if you do not enjoy this course.
Thank you for that, Katie. Moving on quickly to food and diet. We have a few thoughts about that. The first is, how do you feel after a giant meal, after a giant pizza? like we had this a second ago, like it just makes you lethargic and it destroys your energy. Sometimes, like I do enjoy a big meal, like at Christmas, and then I fall asleep during the Queen's speech, which will be the King's speech this year. But mostly I want to have my energy to live my life. So we have a couple of very short thoughts for you about the food and diet. Number one is, what are you eating? And one of the ways we've looked at that is doing a food diary to think about what we're actually putting in our body. Because if you list out what you eat, you suddenly become aware of it, and then you can see what's happening. David says, I eat crap. Like that happens. And when you're young, you can get away with it. And the older you get, the more the consequences are of eating that stuff. And then some people are on the call going, Alan, you're still young. Like I'm 44 and I know I'm still young, and my body is not quite reacting to pizza in the same way it did when I was 21.
I see this as similar when we talk about finances and tracking your spending to know where your money goes. People are like,
Yes.
I don't know why I can't lose weight. It's like, start to notice what you're eating.
Exactly.
What was the big...
That bit about like not knowing where it goes. Like, yeah. Anyway, the second question is, looking at the food diary, how do you feel after you've eaten it? Like what food gives you energy and what food takes away your energy? And it's a simple thing, and it's really life-changing, because some of you might go, after this food, I feel pumped, I feel great for hours afterwards. After this food, I'm full of sugar for 10 minutes and then I crash at 3 p.m. But it's interesting to notice what gives you energy and what doesn't.
Then think about the water content of food, and think about, this is a Tony Robbins quote, which I love, which is, think about, will this clog me or cleanse me? This thing that I'm about to eat, will I feel good afterwards? Will I feel energized, or will I feel clogged? Lovely word, isn't it?
Yeah, it's purposefully that word, because if you look at some food, you go, okay, like I can almost feel my arteries clogging as I eat that giant pizza. It's not going to do me as well as some of the other food that we've got. Neff says, Mexicans, we're tied to tortillas, so tacos give you energy, but it's also very heavy. Neff, I hate to say, Mexico's not doing very well on the obesity rankings around the world. You've beaten America now. Yeah.
So I guess they are doing well on the obesity ranking.
Oh, they are doing very well. That's true.
Depends which way you
Yeah,
put
you've
it.
beaten America.
Depending on their
Congratulations,
prejudice.
Mexico. So we have a couple of thoughts. One is avoid processed foods if you can. The more processed a food is, generally, the worse it is for you. And eat mostly vegetables. Like if you could sum up a good diet, it's eat mostly water-based food, vegetables and different things. Deandra says whole foods for the win. Yeah, whole foods for the win, which another way of doing it is shop round the edges of the supermarket where the vegetables and the fruit is and the whole foods, and avoid the stuff in the middle that comes in packages that are bright coloured. If something is brightly coloured, it's probably a sign. So that's enough on diet. The whole purpose of this section is just to get you to think about what you're putting in your body and the impact it has on your energy. That's it. We are not experts. We want you to think about it and work on it. Jan says, green dream, sprouts and broccoli. Christmas for the win. Move on, Katie.
Sleep. How well are you sleeping? Do you lie awake at night staring at the ceiling? Do you wake up multiple times a night thinking about things, worrying about things, struggling to get back to sleep? Do you save all your sleep up for the weekend? Do you know how well you're sleeping? And how do you feel when you wake up in the morning? Do you feel energized, ready to go? Or do you feel like, give me an extra couple of hours, please?
And it's interesting, having done a huge amount of coaching in the startup world, in the life world over the last 5 years, one of the things that I've noticed is the people that I coach who struggle to do things, it then comes out and they say, oh, I was up till 2 a.m. working on this, or I couldn't sleep the night before. And then I start to ask, how are you sleeping? And the people who struggle most with this stuff really don't sleep well. They struggle to think straight. They struggle to get their mind going. And the health benefits of sleep are unbelievable. Like, it is literally the way your body rejuvenates to be able to tackle the next day. The value of sleep is unbelievable. And there are some great courses out there. The Sleep Masterclass is excellent. There's some great books. But the sleep, like getting the basics right, a good night's sleep is phenomenal.
If you want to do some reading about this, there's a guy called Matthew Walker who's a sleep expert, and
he is brilliant.
He wrote a book called Why We Sleep.
Yes, and he calls it the elixir of life. Like, it is the magic cure to feeling good again and healing. It's incredible. It's
often deprioritized, isn't it? It's like, oh, I'll just stay up and watch another episode of Netflix because I'm enjoying it and I'm going to sacrifice an hour's sleep. Whereas it's this thing that's going to recover your body, heal your body, and help you to feel better.
It's also this septic, like, corporate culture of I don't need sleep. Like, oh, yes, I'm tough, I'm good. I operate on 4 hours sleep a day and I get everything done. And there's this like septic culture of like sleep is for people who aren't doing very well. And I'm like, no.
Sleep is for weaklings.
Yeah, like the complete opposite. Sleep helps me to feel good.
Karen says, I can't get to bed early as I'm addicted to The Handmaid's Tale.
Uh-oh, we need to break that addiction. We have a couple of tips for you on sleep. Number one is LED lights in your room or around you, you know, like the telly light, the alarm clock light. Katie always laughs at me because before we go to bed, if we're staying in a hotel, I go round with like a set of my clothing and like drape pants over the alarm clock, the television, and like draping clothing over all these LED lights.
British pants, which means underpants.
I could have got away with that. Some people don't know that.
What a time to be alive.
Deandra says they do that as well, but it like directly affects your sleep. Even like your toothbrush charging in the other room, if it flashes through the door, it can stop you from focusing. So like put something over it, hide it, color it in with a black pen, get rid of it. Second one, caffeine. Caffeine after lunchtime. Caffeine has a half-life that means it'll be in your system. If you drink after lunchtime coffee, like it's in your system when you're going to sleep and it will affect you. Anna, I love coffee too. I think it's amazing. I just try and do it in the morning and not too much so that it doesn't like destroy my sleep in the evening. It does have a huge impact on your sleep.
Simon, tell us about this next one, decluttering your bedroom.
Yeah, I had this thing where I had a pile of stuff that I wanted to put away, but hadn't quite managed it. So there was a few piles of books, but they weren't piled neatly. They were kind of, so when you put something on top, then it falls off. I had some random lampshade, a couple of glasses, some keys, some pocket change, and it just looked like a messy room. And it wasn't, every time I got into bed, I couldn't quite put my finger on why I didn't feel relaxed. And I stared at this thing and I thought, you know what, that's what it is. And it's something about optimizing your room, your bedroom for calmness. Like, is your bedroom a calm place to be? Or is it like mine was a few months ago, which had all of this stuff everywhere, all over the side?
Optimizing for calmness. I love that sentence. Is your bedroom optimized for calmness? A couple of other things. Screen time, if you're doing screen time straight before bed, apart from Monday night on the Extraordinary Life course, that's fine, obviously. Anita, stop yawning. No, you're allowed to yawn, it's good. Shows you need some bed.
Do you ever have thoughts and things to do that you want to do in the morning whizzing around your head and you think, like, I've done this in the past and I'm like, I must remember in the morning to buy milk and tidy the room, whatever it is, and I just hold on to that thought. Whereas if I have a notebook by the bed, write it down, get it out of my head, I can now trust myself to remember that in the morning because it's there next to me on the bedside, and then it just allows you to let go of these recurring thoughts so that you can rest.
Yes, and there's starting to come out studies that show significant mental health benefits for not letting those thoughts ruminate around your head. Get it out. Put it away so that you can focus on sleeping. Yeah, Paul says sometimes I have to do a brain dump to get it out before sleep. Exactly. Get it away. Get it away. Anita says I grab my phone for reminders. Yeah, exactly. Use a notepad because it doesn't have that blue light, light in your face.
Not only the light, but also, I've just opened my phone. I'll just check my emails.
Yeah.
Anita's nodding, yes. Oh, I wonder what that notification is. Oh, I probably better look at that.
Get rid of that. Get a notepad. One that like we find tough, but when we do it, it's really good. Is the consistent bedtime. When I was like starting my business, I would work really hard and save all my sleep up for the weekend, and it would have a negative impact. Like a consistent bedtime, and if you can do it, get to sleep earlier, it has a big impact on your energy the next day. And then the final one that I've only discovered this year that has a huge impact is eating early. I have a Fitbit that I wear normally that tracks my sleep. And I have noticed if I eat 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, my sleep is not as good afterwards. Whereas if I eat earlier at 4 or 5 or 6 and allow it to digest, preferably going for a walk afterwards, my sleep is a much higher quality. So it's really interesting. What can you do to improve your sleep? Because it will help you to feel so much better every day. So that's sleep. So number one, food. Number 2, sleep. Simon, you had something to add to this?
Yeah, I was just going to say, like a sort of a minor disclaimer. I saw there was at least 3 people that have been triggered by this section, and like I would say that the reason for that is probably because you're really frustrated at the fact that you might have tried some of these things and maybe it hasn't worked for you yet. So this isn't an exhaustive list. And also this isn't a kind of a golden arrow that fixes everything in one go. But if you're struggling with any of these topics tonight for whatever reason, whether you haven't figured out the diet yet, maybe you haven't figured out sleep yet, maybe you haven't figured out exercise, or maybe a combination of those things, to me, that points towards 2 things. Number 1 is a story. There's going to be some stories in there somewhere and some beliefs that have been created that might not be empowering you. They might be holding you back. So look out for those. And secondly, like maybe at some point, if you're struggling with any of these things, maybe you need to get some advice, get some help. If you find that you tried all of this stuff and it ain't working, first look at yourself in the mirror and go, have I actually tried all of these things? Is there anything else that I could do? And if I have, maybe it's time to get some extra help. So that was my sort of my thought, because I know, because this is an emotive one. As someone that's had young children, I can remember going to work at Rebel on 2 hours sleep when George was small. It's tough when you haven't had a lot of sleep in particular. So I'm just going to encourage you to try the stuff and have another go at the things that you've tried, but maybe could have another go again.
I love that. And there's some great comments for people in the chat if you want to have a look at them. A couple of people have mentioned tracking sleep. For me, that's been a big one. And we'll come on to the idea of what gets measured gets improved. So if you know how well you sleep, you can know whether you're getting better or not. If you don't know how well you sleep, like you have a sense, like I wake up in the morning and I sleep well. Katie would always take the Mickey out of me. She would joke with me saying, why do you have to check your Fitbit to know how well you sleep? Like, can't you just think?
Well, I would ask you, like, how well did you sleep well? Like I'm being polite and did you sleep well, darling?
Like, yeah, let me check my numbers.
Check my Fitbit. I was like, can you not just give me a gut feel right now? Do you have to know the stats?
I like to know both. Anyway, let's move on to movement and exercise. This could be another area that triggers some stories.
There might be some stories here.
That's my kettlebells.
Yeah. You don't use.
I do now.
Cool. The expression here is you don't stop moving because you get old.
Who's that?
There's some aging software used there. I hate this.
That's
picture.
My future.
Yeah, Anita's like, oh my God, you look terrible, Alan. Yes, I know. I used aging software. You get old because you stop moving. And this is really fascinating. Like when we look at the generation before us, there are some of the generation before us who walk every day, they're fit, they move, and there's some that have just given up on movement and they sit in the house and their health is deteriorating massively. And like one of the things I've thought is I want to be moving for as long as I can. And to build on this, I was reading a health book very recently that said muscle mass is one of the best predictors of longevity. Having muscles that operate And for those of you who are thinking, I don't want big muscles, that's not what we're talking about. We're just talking about the amount of muscle you have to be able to move.
So we're saying the more muscle you have, the longer you will live. That's what we mean when we're saying it's going to predict your longevity. How long you will live is directly related to how much muscle you have.
And after the age of 30, muscle mass decreases by about 3 to 8% a decade. Now, Simon, you're 55. What's happened to your muscle?
Well, I think if you have a look at the photo that I took with aging software, Alan, actually made me younger, not older.
Oh,
that's because I moisturize.
And then the interesting bit is after 60, the decline is even higher of muscle mass. And what was that sentence that they had at the second part of this study?
So
Katie?
This was in the study. It says the involuntary loss of muscle mass, strength and function. So that like you didn't mean to, but like you've lost it just from aging, is a fundamental cause of and contributor to disability in older people. So the fact that you're losing this muscle is what causes people to become unable to move. So we have to do everything that we can to counteract that, to keep those muscles, because it's going to mean you have a much more pleasant older age and you'll live longer and you'll be more vital and be able to do those things you want to do.
This is where people can't get in and out of chairs easily, so they stop moving. This is where people lose muscle and they fall when they're walking or moving, and they break hips. Then they stop moving even more, and it goes down and down and down. Yeah, Cassandra said balance is super important too. We're not saying like just do lift weighting, but it's just being conscious of this, that you will naturally lose muscle as you get older, and you need to do something about it, because it helps you to be fit. It helps with your blood rate. It helps with whatever you're doing. So we need to find a way to move. That's what we're saying here, is find a way to move for you. And some of you will like one way of moving. Some of you will like a different way of moving, but we have to find a way to be able to move, keep our muscles moving, build our energy and keep going. Because like the aging and time, it just like it goes.
And why not make it joyful? Why can't your moving be dancing? Why can't it be skipping down the street? Something that makes you feel happy and alive. It doesn't have to be drudgery and pain and, oh, I don't like exercise, and all the stories that we have around that. What could you do to make it joyful?
Exactly. And we're going to have a little bit of start where you are. We had this slide from a couple of weeks ago, like if your dream is 6-pack abs, but you can't walk a mile, start where you are. If your dream is financial independence, but you're deeply in debt, start getting out of debt. If your dream is writing a book, but you've never written anything, start small. Like you don't have to see the whole staircase to take the first step. We just need to start where you are. And I don't care whether that's 30 air squats, like 5 in the morning, 5 after breakfast. I don't care. It's walking 15 minutes, doing 30 sit-ups, race your children around the garden. Like, it doesn't matter what it is, find a way to move more. And this could be a bit where there might be some stories.
So is your story, I hate the gym? You're talking about weightlifting, Alan, but I hate the gym and I'm not going to go to the gym. Or I hate walking. Some people don't like walking and they attach this very strong word of hate. I hate walking.
Hate it.
Or hate exercise. I'm too old to lift weights.
Yes. Kingsley put, I don't have time. Have you been reading the slides? We did actually have, I don't have time on here. So many people say, I don't have time to move. It's like, well, like no time? Park at the other side of the car park and run. It'll take about the same time. There's a way to do small bits.
People will wait ages to find a parking spot near where they're trying to go. Park the other side and then walk. It's the same elapsed time, isn't it?
Exactly. And someone put in the chat, which I loved, do squats whilst you're brushing your teeth. That is just genius.
Brady says, let's all run on the spot or in place in the class. I love it.
I love it. We'll have a stretching bit in the minute. Trevor looks scared by that one.
This one I've had people mention to me, I don't want to be too muscular. Or someone else said to me, like, oh, Katie, careful how much you exercise. You don't want to become too muscular. I was like, hang on. And I've been exercising consistently, doing muscle building stuff for about 18 months now. I've exercised all my life, but the last 18 months really focused on building some muscle. And after 18 months, I'm only just starting to see some definition, and we'll come on to seeing gains in a little bit, but I just want to emphasize to you, like, you're not going to go to the gym and suddenly be Arnold Schwarzenegger. So like, it's okay if you're worried you're going to be like really beefy from going to the gym a couple of times. It's not going to happen. If that does happen to you, will you please tell me how you managed to do it?
Exactly.
So that I can copy and do the same. So like, let's get rid of that one.
So what we're saying is, what do you tell yourself about exercise and fitness and movement and those things? Because it is so important. We had one quick recommendation. Katie and I have been watching a show on Disney Plus called Limitless by Chris Hemsworth, and it's actually a fascinating look at what you can do for longevity and health and energy. We loved that show. It's fabulous. So there you go. Those are the 3 bits. Michelle says she just did 60 squats and she's out of breath.
Love it,
I
Michelle.
love that, multitasking with the course and doing squats at the same time. I'm expecting to see Trevor doing that next.
Nate says start small and exercise, even if it's just a walk. It doesn't have to be painful. Exactly. Start where you are.
Exactly. So what does this mean, Katie? Be a 1%er. Do I have to get super rich to do this?
Yes. No. Look for small improvement. What could you do in the area of food to be 1% better?
Yes.
What could you do in the area of sleep? What could you do in the area of exercise? And this doesn't have to be restricted to physical health. What could you do to feel 1% happier? What could you do to improve your relationships by 1%? Just thinking about those small incremental changes, the small little things that you can do. And over time, we'll show you some graphs of what that can do.
Yes, Head of Data has created some graphs. You knew there was going to be a graph this week. Here is this week's graph from the Head of Maths and Data at the Extraordinary Life course, Mrs. Katie Donegan.
Hello. So imagine you have a baseline of 1. So today you're at 1, and whatever 1 means, maybe you can do 1 squat, maybe like just like
1 squat, 1 phone call for your business, 1 whatever it is. I eat 1 salad a month. Whatever it is, number 1 is your starting point.
If you made a 1% improvement every single day for 3 months, where would you end up?
And here's a line showing this 1% improvement.
So how could you be 1% better in these different areas? And different areas of life work together as well. And you can see like, oh, by improving my health in this area, I've got more energy, so I can do a better job at work, and suddenly I'm getting promoted, and it can all have these wonderful compound effects. So after 3 months of doing a daily improvement of just 1%, just one little thing to improve your life in some way, you'll be at 2.4. So you've doubled your level of whatever that means. You can now do 2.4
squats a day.
So I don't know what 0.4 of a squat looks like, but anyway,
You go halfway down and just rest.
you can see how this starts to build if you do those consistent actions to change.
So what happens if you do it for 6 months,
Or if you
Katie?
kept going for 6 months, so you're going along and these blue dots are if you just stopped after 3 months, but the orange line, what if you kept going for another 3 months? Where would you end up?
And can you see how it's kind of growing exponentially? Like the angle of the line changes, because the benefits of this stuff is small actions taken repeatedly compound over time. So if you're learning how to grow your business, it compounds over time.
Yeah, people are putting in the chat, is this like compound interest?
It kind of is, yes. It's the same for your finances. Like it's not linear, it's compound, it's exponential.
So where would you end up after 6 months? Well, you'd be at 6.1. So you 6 times where you were 6 months previously, and you've moved from 2.4 after 3 months to 6.1 after 6 months. Like, the power of this is incredible. I'm getting very excited about compounding, Alan.
I know you are. So those of you who are launching a business, how can you get 1% better at your sales each day? For those of you who are working on health, how can you get 1% better with your diet, or 1% better with your sleep? Like, just small improvements compounded over time makes a massive difference. And one of Katie's sayings that she loves to shout at me very aggressively is,
it's not linear.
no,
You might
it's
have
not linear.
Heard me saying on this Rebel Finance course, but
Nothing is linear.
As humans, we think everything's going to be like a straight line. So I put in 1 unit of effort, and I'm going to have 1 unit of outcome, whatever that means. If I put in 2 units of effort, if I go for 2 runs, I'll have somehow like double the benefit when I did of 1 run. And we all do it and we think, oh, it's going to be a straight line, I'm going to see improvement straight away. And it just doesn't work like that. I'm sorry, it just doesn't, in any area, in health, in finances, in
business. Like any
in learning something, just it doesn't happen. So,
and I fall foul of this as well.
you did.
I remember starting a diet. We started we changed our diet. I didn't do a diet. I changed what I ate. And after about 6 days, I remember saying to Katie, I've done this new diet for 6 days now. I'm still fat. Like, this is rubbish. I don't want to continue doing this. And she's like, the guy on the diet thing said 6 months. You need to keep going for at least 6 months to be able to see what happens. But I'd lost motivation because I thought it was linear. Like, I've done 6 days. I should be 6 times better. But we just don't recognize the trends.
Jane's got an awesome comment. She says, progress is not linear. I feel like each run needs to be faster than the last, but some are slower, some are faster, and just getting out there is the key. Exactly, Jane, the consistency. I love it.
So what is this graph, Katie?
So what if you kept going for a year? So first of all, we've got these lines that saw what we happened after 3 months, where we got to like a 2 from the baseline of 1.
And it's like nothing's really happened down there.
Trundling along, I'm way below where I thought I was going to be, which is that green straight line. You're like, blimey heck, nothing's really happening here. And we got to 6 months, which is the end of those orange dots. And now this grey line is like, okay, look, starting to be cooking on gas here. And it starts to like whiz up as you see the compounding of all these changes that you're making. And
that's the key.
Most people don't ever get there.
No, they never get there because they think, oh, nothing's happening, and they give up soon. And that's the bit, is they just give up too soon, and they never see the compounding effect of their saving, investment, their yoga. And we've got this arrow. Most people give up here. It's actually called National Quitters Day. It happens on the 14th of January, and it's when most people quit their January New Year's resolutions. It's 14 days because they're like, oh, I've started, nothing's happened. But they haven't kept going and doing it. But the 1% change over a year, you'd be 37 times better. It's unbelievable.
And that's why you got to fall in love with the process, because you're not going to see the benefits immediately. It just doesn't work like that. You got to stick with it, enjoy the process, enjoy looking after yourself and doing these things so that you'll stick the course. I like this one. What if you improve by 1% every day, not just for 3 months, not for just for 6 months, not just for a year, but for 10 years?
Considering you would have got to 37.4 in a year, what do you get to over 10 years? Does anyone want to have a guess?
In the chat.
It's like 100? Is it 200?
I know the answer.
Mark Crossley says a bajillion.
A bajillion.
A bajillion.
So you wouldn't be at a 6.
Annie says over 100. That's correct, Annie. It is over 100.
So you go on, let's say them. So it wouldn't be a 6. It wouldn't even be 6,000 or 6 million or 6 billion or 6 trillion. No, you would be at 6 quadrillion. And
Which,
just like the power of something you can do in 10 years, and people think, oh, I'm too old to change, like I don't have time. In 10 years, the changes that you can make are absolutely phenomenal. And these are based on these daily actions that are just like 1% better in different areas of your life. And the outcomes are unfathomable.
Just want to say that Darren got that correct before you said it, which I think is worthy of some acknowledgement.
6 quadrillion. Did you do that in your head, Darren?
you win points.
Quick
Did
maths.
you scurry off to Excel?
The key here, though, and like that seems like crazy numbers, but we're just trying to like exaggerate. We're not exaggerating, it's the actual number, but we're showing the point that small improvements over time compound to create incredible things. It can also work against you, like slowly decreasing over time has the same thing. And people have that with their health as well, that it slowly gets worse and worse and worse and worse over the years. So you've got to be very careful, because this stuff will work against you. And someone put in the chat, like, my health has suffered. Like, that happens. My health suffered this summer and I made massive, like, ungains. What's the opposite of a gain? Losses, thank you. I went the wrong way, and then I had to start getting better again and working up. And I know it's tough. It is, and it works against you. So one last example to bring this to life, which is, how long does it take to double? And why do we have a picture of someone walking, Katie?
Well, imagine you do like about 5,000 steps a day. So it's a couple of miles walking each day, and you wanted to double. So you wanted to get to 10,000 steps. You're doing 5,000 steps now, and you do a 1% increase every day. How long would it take you to double the number of steps that you do?
Yeah. Like
Darren's going to do the quick maths and figure it out.
He's going to be ridiculous. Thomas says 72. That was very quick.
The answer is 70 days. So it takes 10 weeks to double something if you just increase by 1% every day. So it always comes back to that question, what 1% changes could you make in your life? And just thinking that way, thinking like, what small improvement could I do today to improve my life and to start to see this compounding over time?
Because 50 extra steps in a day is like 30 seconds walking.
Yeah, it's like
Like
going
it's,
to this
it's
extra
not even going as far as the toilet.
I was going to say extra trip to the bathroom. I suppose it depends how big your house is.
It does. But could you do an extra trip to the bathroom each day to increase your steps? That sounds a bit weird. I'm going to move on quickly, Simon. And here's a direct question for everyone on the course. What 1% changes could you make in your life? And we're going to ask you right now, I would like you to start listing something that you could do this week. And we're actually going to ask you to commit to 3 different things, and we don't care what it is. 1% more steps. Taz says 1% less sugar, and so does Tahir. You guys are on the same wavelength. I love that.
Kingsley's going to pick one day this week to work out. Darren's going to do one more errand without a car.
Aid says sleeping longer. Yes, sleep 1% longer tomorrow, Aid. I love it. Or go to bed 1% earlier. I love that.
Lucy's having one less biscuit. I love it.
Lilac is squatting whilst brushing. I'm concerned what you're brushing at that point while squatting. I'm assuming it says teeth, but you never know. Watch less telly, says Lewis. Yes, so 1% less screen time would be incredible.
As well as putting it in the chat, what we really want you to do is write this down somewhere that you're capturing it for you. So if you could put it in your notepad, write it in your phone, somewhere that you're capturing this, writing down what it is that you're going to do.
Actually going to commit to, and that is what we actually want, is like something to come from this. And this is the bit, you're actually giving yourself a gift by doing this. If you can increase your sleep by 1%, you will feel better. Anita, do you think you could increase your sleep by 1% this week? She's nodding. Okay, you've written it down. Perfect. Dan, hold her to it. Perfect. But it's don't actually hold her down so she sleeps. That's a bit creepy.
You did a bit creepy there, Alan.
But this is your gift to yourself for your energy. Like, I want you to give yourself the gift of feeling 1% better this week, and then 1% better next week, and give yourself the gift of energy and life. It's incredible. Perfect.
Just a quick thought on this. Like, this to me was a real mindset game changer. And I just wanted to mention Ollie Mansfield, who's a health and well-being coach that I'm working with at the moment. I rang him up a few weeks ago and said, Ollie, tell me what to eat and I'll eat it. Like, there are so many confusing diets and things, and like you were talking about, Alan, just trying to go straight to the one
magic pill
game changer that's optimized everything. And because of his knowledge, he's been doing this for 25 years. I fully expected him to say, here's your exercise regime, here's when you're going to drink more water, here's what you're going to eat and when you're going to eat and how you're going to eat, and off you go. See you in 6 weeks. That's what I wanted him to tell me, but he knew that I wouldn't stick to it. He knew that I would last 3 or 4 days and then get frustrated. But that thing of what can I do? What 1% change can I make today? And just get to the place where you can ask yourself that question every single day. And I absolutely love the things that have been written down. And I think, imagine those gains in 10 weeks time, if you've got twice the energy that you're going to wake up with than you have currently today. I absolutely love this thing. I think this is one of the most powerful things that not enough people talk about. I'll shut up now. Please continue.
Short Round on YouTube said smoke 1% less. Love that. If you smoke 1% less, you're compounding in a good way. Drink 1% more. Mal says diet is horrible. I'm just going to eat good food. I love that. Just eat good food. 1% more fruit, says Philippe. Yes, and Sandy says temporary diets aren't helpful. You need to make sustainable changes. We 100% agree. The word diet should mean your diet, what you eat permanently, not what you do for 2 weeks to lose weight before going to Mallorca. That's not what we're talking about. It's the permanent thing. Okay, cool. I think we've got this point. Let's move on, Simon. Are you okay? Vanya, have we got this point? Yeah, I got a thumbs up from Vanya. We can move on.
Was it a thumbs up from Dan?
These are the basics. No, it wasn't a slow thumbs up, Katie. We're not doing that anymore.
Okay,
these are the basics that we need to do. We've got to tune into our body. That's my favorite slide of Katie tuning into body. I could watch, like we created that. I could watch that slide repeatedly again and again. Katie, what do we want to say here?
I think Simon wants to say something here.
Well, I think like the thing for me is over the years, I've done this on stamina alone. You know, like I did a vegetarian thing for 18 months. You know, I've given up alcohol 3 times, and it's like on a like part stamina and part la 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 la. I'm not going to think about all the bad things that I could eat. Life is good. Life is good. And actually, like sustaining that is really challenging. But the flip side of that is that when I'm really calm, I'm in balance and not overthinking things. I actually, my body is wanting to rebalance itself in those moments. So I was out for a walk a few weeks ago, and I didn't want to be running. I went out for a walk and then just suddenly started running for no reason. I wasn't in gym kit. I had a pair of jeans on. It must have looked ridiculous. People must have thought I'd broken into something because I'm running down the canal. And it's just because I felt just calm. I felt like it's what I wanted to do. And by being calm and tuning into your body and just settling down, breathe deep, look for a feeling of calm, and then your body wants to do that stuff anyway. And it's just, you know, it just makes it more, it makes it effortless, actually. It's effortless. And I want to save you from some of the challenge of I must do this, I must eat that, and I must exercise there. Sure, some habits are good and some discipline is good, but your body already knows what it wants to do. You just got to give it the chance where you can hear it. Oh, okay, well, I made it binary. You're right. I did make it binary a while ago. So my stint of 8, I was vegan for 4 months, and then I thought, how much broccoli can one man eat? I got a bit bored of that. So I then went vegetarian for about 18 months, and I gave up alcohol for the same period of time until I went to an Irish pub in New York City, right? There's a place in Times Square. It's my favorite Irish bar. How many lives do you think have been disrupted by a mischievous night in an Irish bar in some city in the world, right? That was my night. I had a cheeky Guinness and a burger. There was live music, like what I call the diddly diddly music, which is the professional term for traditional Irish dancing music. Had a brilliant night. And then after that, I thought, oh, screw it. Like, what's the point? What's the point? Because I've just broken my 18-month streak of 0 alcohol and 0 meat. I might as well just go back to what I was doing before because I couldn't sustain it. And I made it binary. And that's the message behind this slide. It doesn't actually have to be binary. In fact, the more you beat yourself up for the days when you feel a little mischievous, that's actually you kind of weaponize your thoughts then. And it's like a double whammy. So let's not make it binary.
And when we say binary, we mean like one thing or the other. So it's either, oh, I'm like a vegan, non-alcohol drinking person, or I'm a
binge drinking hamburger eating
man that frequents Irish bars every night.
Exactly.
So it doesn't have to be one or the other.
And Sheila did say, don't blame the Irish in the chat. I would agree with that. It wasn't the Irish, Simon, it was you. But I put this slide up about I'm 80% good. Like, don't beat yourself up for making a mistake every now and again. Just be 80% good and you will be better than 90% of the people in the world. But it's when we make it binary of like, I have to be good every single day. Like if you slip one day, that's okay. You're still 80% good. So just be 80% good. Darren says, what culinary craft is in this picture? It's from a place called Hash House A Go-Go. Which is in the United States of America. And that is an eggs Benedict covered in chipotle hollandaise sauce. It's the most ridiculous food I've ever seen in my life.
I think it would
and
break
I think
everyone's binary, Darren. I just seen his comment there.
it would break everyone's binary. Yeah. Just be 80% good. That's what we're saying. Okay. Moving on from my 20% bad very quickly is what gets measured gets improved. What does that mean, Katie?
What we mean is that the act of monitoring something, so maybe it's your body fat, maybe it's your sleep, maybe you get a sleep tracker like we have our Fitbits. When you measuring something, you can't help but improve it. You're going to want to like start playing that game of like, oh, how could I like decrease my body fat? How could I improve the quality of my sleep? And you start to like turn it into this fun game of like, oh, what could I do? And you'll just find yourself just by measuring it that you'll improve. Same with, like we said, maybe keep a food diary. You're going to, if you write down or take pictures of everything that you eat, chances are you're going to change what you're going to eat, because you're like, oh, I'm going to have to write that down. I'm going to have to take a picture of that. Do I actually want that to be on my permanent record? Do I want that to be something that I'm going to eat? It makes you more conscious, more intentional, and you can see the trend, good or bad, and take steps to rectify it if you want to, or accelerate it if it's going the right way, the way that you want it to go.
And it's about the long-term trend. This is not an opportunity to beat yourself up for making a mistake. Be 80% good and look at the long-term trend.
Is the trend.
Are you getting better? Are you getting worse? That's it. I said earlier about tracking my sleep. Like, this is a bad night's sleep, 6 hours, 17 minutes, 7 minutes of sleep, and it gives me a score of 67. What do I do with this? Like, I look at the sleep score and then I go, okay, I've not slept very well. I need to be a bit kinder to myself today. Like, if I get tired in the afternoon, understand why, look after myself a little bit better. Let's just understand that I've not slept. And then Deandra says, go to bed early in the next evening. Yeah, look after myself afterwards. And if I get a good score, like this was a ridiculously good night's sleep. And
you did go to bed early. You went to sleep at 8:53.
I went to sleep very early. It was one of those nights where I was like, I want to sleep early. And it was actually following the 67. But if I've slept well, then I've got more energy. I feel better. And that, looking at my sleep on my Fitbit, helps me to know, am I sleeping deeply? Am I not? It gives me a little number to compare against people my age and of my sex. Although that's just to be a little bit careful. People do not sleep well in general. So being better than average is not actually that good. It's like being better than average with your finances. Like, better than average is just over broke. Like, it's not actually that good. So you have to be a little bit careful with that stuff.
I just wanted to pick up on something that Vanya said. She said she measures how her body feels. So it doesn't,
love that.
If you're tracking things, it doesn't have to be completely objective, like I did this sleep and this is it.
No, says the data lady.
Don't tell anyone. Maybe it's something subjective, like how much energy I feel today, how calm I feel today. What could it be that you could track and start with to notice the patterns? How does my movement and exercise impact the way I feel? How does my sleep impact the way I feel? And just seeing that over time and starting to spot the patterns and do something about it.
Yes, a couple of people asked, how did I get this data? It's a Fitbit, and you just wear your Fitbit to sleep. There are many out there. There's all sorts of different apps. There's a ring you can wear that collects the data. I think it's called Aurora. There's lots of different ones. Just to give you one other idea of what I've been tracking recently is metabolic age. And I do this through a set of bathroom scales that like electrifies you. They put a current through your body and tells you how old your metabolism is. And mine is 50. That's not exciting because I'm 44. So it's basically saying my metabolism is older than I am, which I don't like. So that's something that I'm working on, and I want to get 1% better so that I can be younger. So my question to you is, what are you going to measure?
And this could be your 1% improvement. Maybe your change that you're going to make, your 1% better, is just to start tracking some of this stuff. And what do you currently measure? What could you measure to start to get the results that you want? And this, again, can apply in the area of health, but also in other parts of your life, your finances, your business, your career, whatever it might be.
I love that.
And if these guys want to watch you sleep, Alan, which link do they have to click for that?
I've got that link. Yeah, I'll set you.
Okay.
I'll send it. I'll put it in the notes.
Can I make my metabolics joke now that you've been talking metabolics for the last week, or is that inappropriate for this call?
No, I'm feeling
inappropriate,
very
Simon.
unhappy because Sonia put my metabolic age is 45 and I'm 54. I feel like we've swapped, Sonia, and I'm not that happy. I'm happy for you, just
The
not for
clues
me.
in her
Maybe
business name.
what can you learn from Sonia?
There's a
You have
lot
a
I can
story
probably
there.
learn. Sonia, message me afterwards. I need to learn. So, like, what are you actually going to measure? Because it does make a difference. Are you going to measure how many courgettes you eat a day? Zucchini? Are you going to measure your steps? It's whatever it is. Anita and Dan says, how do I find this out? Yes, just like go to a Fitbit. The one we have is a Fitbit Sense, but they have lots of cheaper trackers as well. But it's just thinking about what are you measuring so you can see whether you're heading in the right direction or the wrong direction and do something about it. So it doesn't have to be complex. It can be just a simple thing. So we're going to move on to the next bit. Katie.
Yes. I borrowed this from a great man called Stephen R. Covey. He wrote a book called Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. And he said you can think of anything that you do in life, any task, any activity, on two different scales. So urgency, meaning is it time sensitive? Does it need to be done now? And importance, how important or not important is this task or activity or whatever it is you're doing? And you can think of it, he's actually made it binary and said there's like, it's either urgent or not urgent, important or not important. It's just a way to help to think about the things that you do in your life. So firstly, you've got like top left-hand quadrant 1, it's important and it's urgent. It's time sensitive, it needs doing right now and it's important. You've got quadrant 2 stuff. So it's important, but it's not urgent. It doesn't need doing right now, but it is important. And then on the bottom line, you've got quadrant 3. It's not important, but it is urgent. And finally, quadrant 4, not important and not urgent.
Should we bring these to life, Katie?
Well, if we can do a poll and say what quadrant were people's action or like 1% improvements.
So let's do that. And examples of like not important and not urgent would be checking Instagram notifications. I don't know why I'm so against Instagram today. Maybe Facebook notifications. They're rarely urgent and rarely important.
So we've launched a poll here saying, which quadrant do the 1% changes you came up with a few minutes ago, which ones do they fall into? Are they important and urgent? Are they important and not urgent? Where do they fall? And I'm going to end the poll now. No, I'm not. I'm going to wait.
We'll wait for a few people to vote. It's coming in now. Most people are saying important and urgent and important and not urgent. A few people are saying they're looking to do stuff in not important and not urgent, which is interesting. So on the poll, most people are actually focused on important and urgent. We've shared the results with you all, you can see. And a few people are focusing on important and not urgent. And it's interesting, like this particular stuff. So let's bring this stuff to life, give you some examples, and then talk about where things fall.
So something that is in quadrant 1, so it's important and urgent, might be a crying baby. You want to look after the baby. It's urgent because it's time sensitive. You want to help them and it's important. Or maybe you have a toothache, some kind of medical crisis. That urgent pain means you're going to deal with it because it's urgent and it's important. It's your health. If you're looking at quadrant 2, so something that's important but not urgent, if you looked after your teeth better, if you brushed your teeth and flossed and looked after your teeth that way, maybe those health crises wouldn't happen as often or as acutely or severely. And things like...
But it's never urgent to brush your teeth.
It's never urgent.
Like there's no urgent
depends how much
bit.
Garlic you've eaten. But the sorts of activities here are things that they're not time sensitive, as in if I don't brush my teeth right now, I'm going to get a toothache or I'm going to have bad teeth. No, it's things that you're doing to maintain and to look after yourself, like movement and exercise or yoga, with the example we've got in the picture there.
So nearly everything we've been talking about today comes in quadrant 2. Because it's not really urgent until it is. And when it is urgent, you're going to hospital to deal with it. You're having like some serious problems. It's the same with finances. Like looking after your finances is nearly all quadrant 2, unless you get the letter through the door that says we're coming to reclaim your house, then it's urgent and important. But it's fascinating, like where you spend your time.
Then you've got things in quadrant 3. So they're urgent, they're time sensitive, time pressing, but not important. So those notifications on your phone, something pings up that like it feels like urgent because like it's there in your face, but it's probably of very little importance. And then finally, we got an example in quadrant 4 of just scrolling on social media. It's not urgent. It doesn't need doing right now. And it's not important. There's no importance of scrolling.
Exactly. So I guess the question is, like, how much time are you spending in each of these quadrants? And for Katie and I, our big one for years was finances. We spent so long in quadrant 2 on finances, organizing our investments, organizing everything we did. Like, it wasn't urgent because it's not flashing in your face telling you to do it, but it created long-term success in that area for us.
So the question is, how much time do you spend in quadrant 2? How much time do you spend on those activities that are not time pressing, but are so important? So coming on courses like this, well, I think it's important. Looking after your health, thinking about your life, planning your life, designing your life, versus are you always in emergency and crisis mode, which is quadrant 1? It's important and it's urgent, maybe because you haven't looked after things as well as you could have done, and then seeking escape in activities that are not important, not urgent. You've used up all your energy reacting to things in that urgent and important thing. So then you retreat maybe to the not important, not urgent things of just like scrolling on your phone, zoning out, and having to escape from that stress that you had when you were dealing with those important, urgent things.
Scott says, if it's not important, how can it be urgent? Like a phone ringing, like people feel the need to answer it, but it may not be important. It might be someone trying to sell you house insurance or whatever. Like, it's just a sales call. It's not important, but it is urgent. It's like something that flashes to you. Someone who comes running to your desk and says, I need your help on this now. It might not be important for you, but like they're in your face and it's urgent. And then there was another comment about procrastinate, which was awesome. What we're trying to say here is spend your time building strong foundations. Because if you spend your time in quadrant 2 building strong foundations, your finances, your health, everything you're needing to do just becomes easier over time. Amelia says, when your kid is calling you, it's probably not important, but you have to check and know, and you will probably go check how it finds it. Yeah. Sometimes your kid is urgent and important. Sometimes it's urgent, but not important. And they're always important. Simon's looking at me. Kids are always important.
Well, you have to choose your favorite one to decide, but yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll tell George later. Katie, what does dig the well before you're thirsty means?
This is look after your health before it becomes a crisis. Do the work needed now. Build the network of friends and support that you need before you need someone's help. Otherwise, it's too late when you come to need their help, when you're thirsty and you haven't set the foundations and set the thing that you need in order to get their help.
Exactly. So let's focus on getting your sleep, your exercise, your food, your finances in order so that you don't have to have the emergency stuff. You don't have to go and dig the well when you won't even have the energy to dig the well at that point because you've let those things go.
So the final thing on physical health before we switch to mental health is if you've got that niggly thing that it's not a crisis yet, it's not an emergency yet, you've got niggly pain, you need to deal with something, go and see the doctor. Put that as one of your actions that you're going to do this week. You know who I'm talking to.
Simon, let's switch.
I wasn't
tracks.
talking to Simon.
Yeah, I think like my realization for this is that I'm going upstream with this, with mental health. And what I mean by that is, you know, we spend a lot of time figuring out what our diet is. We've got to figure out what kind of exercise that we need to do and get ourselves fit and healthy. We've got to figure out about hydration. We've got to, you know, slow down on the negative things that we're putting in our body. But actually, if you go upstream, it all comes back to thoughts. It all comes back to thinking. Having a bad diet doesn't strike me as a food diet related problem. It's a thinking problem. There's some thoughts going on that are leading to doing negative things or not doing enough positive things in your body. So I think, you know, the root of all of this stuff is becoming more aware of the thoughts that you're creating in your head. And I know you've got some thoughts about happiness here. What's on your mind?
It's a statement I've been saying for a few years now that I really wanted to share everyone. The biggest gift you can give me is your happiness. And I think this is obvious if you say it the other way round. Like if you've got kids, Simon, you have kids, do you want them to be happy?
Yes, that would be expeditious.
And the biggest gift Simon's kids can give him are their happiness. And what's the biggest gift Simon can give his kids? Like his happiness. Like if he's happy, if he's living life on purpose, if he's doing all that stuff, his kids are going to be attracted to be around him. They'll learn from him. They'll see a great example. They'll see a happy human being that they want to be around. But we quite often see it one way round, this statement, but not the other way round. And I want to say to all of you, the people who are looking at me right now, Trevor, I can see you. The biggest gift you can give me is your happiness. And the biggest gift you can give everyone around you is your happiness. That's what I want you to give. The biggest gift I can give you is my happiness. If I'm happy and I come on this course full of happiness, energy, I have more to give you. Me being happy is a gift I give to Katie. All I want in life is Katie to be happy. That's the biggest gift. I can't make her happy. The biggest gift Katie can give me is her happiness. That's what I want. That's all I want is her happiness. And I can't force her to be happy. Like I can tickle her for a bit, but it'll wear off. Like she has to give me that gift. And this is the bit I really want to think about, is the biggest gift the people you can give the people around you is your happiness.
Georgina says, I want my kids to experience a full range of emotions, not just happiness. Can you define what you mean when you say happiness?
Well, like a general baseline of happiness, Georgina. Like I'm not saying they're going to be happy forever. Like they're going to fall off their bike and be unhappy. They're going to get rejected for something. But like a generally positive person that's like positive, the best version of you, happy, full of energy, like that's just a delight to be around. It's a delight to be around. So that's the key piece, is like you want to help them have their best version of their life, but you can't force them to be positive, feel happy, feel good. Like if they're and we're not saying fake happiness, Vanya. I'm not saying like you have to fake the happiness. I don't want people to fake my happiness. I want them to actually work on it so they are happy. That's the gift. Like if you work on your happiness and you are happy, that makes me happy, because like, oh, she's wonderful to be around. And I don't want to force anyone to be happy. I want them to help them to feel it. That's the biggest gift, is like your happiness to other people and vice versa. Someone said a steady state of joy, baseline is happy. Yeah. And you can use whatever word you want to for these bits, but like some people have a baseline of depression and that's how they feel. That's not ideal. The baseline of happiness is what we're really, happiness, like whatever word you want to use. I'm not precious about the words. It's like you're feeling good, you're feeling confident, you're the best version of yourself at that bit.
Yeah, and we're not banning any emotions. We're not saying, oh, you have to be like smiling, outwardly, visibly happy the whole time.
Exactly. And one of the things Katie and I have learned is achievement doesn't lead to happiness.
I've tried. I've really, really tried. And it's not waiting for me after I've achieved stuff. I've tried. It's not there.
It's not there. It just doesn't happen. And you get to the end and you go, is this it? So what we wanted to say to you is it's a journey of happiness, not a journey to happiness.
We mean by that is like you live your life along the way being happy rather than expecting it to come at some future point. So it's not a journey towards happiness, because if you believe that's where it is, you'll never find it, because it's always something that's outside of you.
Yes. And just to clarify, like, I'm not saying you have to be happy all the time. I am definitely not happy all the time. England lost against France. I was not happy for a period of time, and that's okay. It's just like, in general, are you feeling good? Are you confident? That's the key bit. And the journey is the fun. It's the creating, it's the building, it's the connecting, experiencing, laughing, playing, learning. That's the fun bit, not getting to the goal. But this is where it gets really, really confused. You had a little book recommendation, Katie?
Yeah, so that phrase that we said, it's a journey of happiness, not a journey to happiness, I got from this book. It's called Be Happy by Robert Holden, and I highly recommend that. So that's one of the main things I got from that book about the journey of happiness, and it's not outside of you, it's not somewhere waiting for me after I've achieved X, Y, and Z. It's not there. So I love this book and highly recommend it.
And this is where it comes from in the Western world. Like, which comes first, happiness or success? And in the Western world, we quite often go, you need to be successful first. Get the promotion, get the nice car, get the house. That's what happiness means. And like, we have this view that I need to do all this stuff to be happy. And once I have the house, the job, the wife, the pet, the throw rug that's thick or whatever it is, the shag pile carpet, like whatever it is, I'll be happy afterwards. That's kind of really interesting mindset, is you need to do all these things to be happy. Whereas actually, could you be happy before? And actually, does happiness first lead to success? And there was a really interesting study they did of people that got promoted. And like, yes, you had to perform well, but one of the factors was like how happy, positive, and confident you were actually tied into how likely you were to get promoted at work. Because who do you want to work with? The grumpy person in the corner, or the one that's positive and happy and says we can get things done? And it's interesting, happiness first or success first? And
we're not obviously saying you can't have both, and success is subjective and means different things to other people. The other thing I wanted to build on what you said with the happier people are more creative as well. So that's another reason why they like do better in different situations, more able to come up with different options of the way forward, more creative.
Exactly. Simon, happiness.
Is it down my top?
Did you find it, Katie?
I don't really know how to answer that question.
Okay, well, don't then. I had this massive realization about a year ago that, and like you say, there's a number of words for this that kind of mean the same thing. So don't get too hung up on the word, but you might think calmness, peace of mind, or contentment. And it definitely doesn't exist anywhere on the outside, for the exact reason that some of the world's most successful people over the years are utterly miserable, because they've optimized their life for achievement. And when they get there, they realize that they're still not happy, whether it's billionaires, film stars, athletes, and so on, that they've had these most extraordinary lives, but still can't figure out why they're unhappy. So my realization about a year ago was that happiness and calmness and peace of mind is already on the inside. It's already there. It's available 24/7. We just spend most of our lives looking in the wrong direction. I got a couple of examples. So has anyone spent loads of money on a holiday and had a really crap time? Or maybe the vice versa, that you've had a real budget holiday and had the best holiday ever. Like, I remember going to a Greek island a few years ago, and there was one window in the room. The ceilings are really high, and the window was about the size of a letterbox, right? So there was hardly any natural light in the room. Like, we affectionately called it the cell. And I have to say, right, that was one of the best holidays I've ever had. And equally, I've had the 5-star hotel thing in Tobago, had a really, really crap holiday. So it isn't the amazing destination that leads to happiness, but happiness and calmness and peace of mind and contentment is abundant, fully available 24/7. One of the things that we need to do to be kind to ourselves is to learn to look for that feeling of calm, and everything else will sort itself out beautifully. But there's the thing, though, we've got to go and get it, haven't we, Al?
We have. I was just going to add one last example, which would be Robin Williams, like one of the most unbelievable performers, incredibly successful and just deeply unhappy. It's incredible. Like, you can have all the outer trappings of success, but not be happy. So I totally agree. And what we really wanted to say was, don't wait for happiness. Like, don't wait. Happiness is not at the end. Happiness, the biggest one in like the financial independence world, is I will be happy when I hit X number of my finances. And that is just not true. It just does not happen. Like, you need to work on your life and then your finances as well. But like, happiness is not after a number. It's not after a promotion. It's not when you get somewhere. Don't wait for it. Create it yourself. Confidence. We had a thought on confidence that ties around this. Like, confidence is a feeling. And quite often when we've been doing work at Rebel Business School in different places, people are like, I'm waiting to feel confident to take action. And what we wanted to say to you was, until confidence shows up, action will do. And quite often action leads to confidence later on. Like, generating the feeling first doesn't always help. So taking action helps you to unlock those bits. Moving on quickly, Katie, I want versus
I am. So when you say I want something, it creates this distance from what you have. It's almost like this yearning of, I want that. I want to be healthy. I want to be, I want to have a loving relationship with my kids. I want. It makes it feel distant and
there.
away from you. So if you can start saying I am, then it's a completely different feeling. It feels way more powerful. What do we mean by this, Helen?
Like, it's like, I want to be healthy, but it's kind of saying I'm not, and I'm never going to get there. And then that's where the stories show up. It's like, I want to get promoted, but so many people say to me, I want to build a business, but I want to make sales, but I want to be financially independent, but that isn't possible for me, or whatever the story is that comes after it. And we just wanted to say, stop wanting and just start doing and start being. Like,
I had another example of this. It reminds me, I've met a few folk over the years, and I've seen a couple of posts in the Facebook group that I'm going to get around to this week, of someone that says, I want to be an author, but, and then insert whatever reason is holding them back. And actually re-engineering that sentence to I am a writer. Just because you haven't published a book yet, that doesn't mean that you're not a writer. You're writing. So be a writer. And that sense of, oh, I'm already a writer, then it's not something that I have to do before I can become one. And I think that's a really nice version. And somebody else actually in one of our courses down in Somerset said, you know, like I'm struggling to say the words I'm an entrepreneur because I used to be a lawyer. And she kept on telling me what she used to be. And I'm like, no, not what you used to be. It's who you are now. And like, say the words, claim that identity now. And then it's that old expression, isn't it? Be the change you want to see, which was a mixed up version of a Gandhi quote, but let's not go there.
And it comes back to the alignment levels, doesn't it, that we were talking about last week. So sometimes you might be feeling some resistance to this stuff around like working on your health, your physical health, your mental health. And it's going back in the area of health and vitality and energy, going through those different alignment levels we talked about last week. So that's identity, your goal or your vision at the top, then your identity, your values, your beliefs, your behaviors, and your skills, and then your environment. And are you lined up in the area of health? And if not, that's why you're probably feeling resistance to the things that we're talking about today.
Exactly. And if you are feeling resistance, please go back to the homework from last week. That's going to be one of the most powerful bits to help you unlock where that resistance is coming from. And Nate in the chat said a wonderful comment, which comes from James Clear. The idea of saying what you are, and then your habits cast votes for that identity. I am healthy, and every time I eat vegetables, I'm casting a vote for that identity, is a wonderful way of thinking it. I am good with my finances, and I will cast a vote by tracking my finances and doing a monthly finance meeting, and I'm voting for the identity that I want. So stay tuned for the closing message, because we're actually going to finish broadly on time. Shock, horror. We're going to finish broadly on time today. My crochet chums is smiling at that statement because she knows we overrun sometimes. We have a lot to say. So stay tuned for the closing message. Before that, this is Simon. Why have you got a B next to you?
Because I get a buzz out of presenting, Alan. I'm here all week.
Yeah, dad jokes.
That's all I got. I'm a dad. That's all I got. So look, here's the thing that please can you type in the chat if you think you may have found yourself at some point possibly overthinking things. Like, have we got any like overthinkers? We can start a mini group here of Overthinkers Anonymous. Oh, blimey. Right. Okay. Isn't that a thing? I had a feeling. You were going to say that. And folks, this is what this TED Talk is all about. And I got invited to do a TED Talk in my local place in Northampton a couple of years ago, about 5 minutes before lockdown 1. And I had to submit this long thing, like, this is the presentation I'm going to do. I had to give them a synopsis. They were like, great, we've approved it. And then lockdowns happened. 2.5 years later, I'm a different person. I'm a completely different person to who I was in 2020. Like, my life has changed massively. I've changed massively. And my original topic just suddenly seemed irrelevant and dull. So I had this really fun idea. Why don't I stand on stage and get filmed about living with depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts whilst building a business and being a dad? Like, I can't think of anything more fun than that. So I thought, let's do the TED Talk on that stuff, because I reckon, and I do bear it warts and all, folks, there is some stuff in there that I haven't told my family. In fact, some of my family haven't watched it yet, and I haven't told them that it's on YouTube. So the reason for me sharing this is that if the messages in that TED Talk help one person get a 1% gain every day from overthinking, then the TED Talk has done its job. Is the link not working? It worked for me about 5 minutes ago.
I'll put it in the chat.
We're going to put it in the chat.
Deandra's done it. Thank you.
Thank you, Deandra.
Awesome.
And we'll also put it in the email, which will come out tomorrow. So we will put that in there.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I would love to know, please stick in the Facebook group if there's something that hits you from that video that you think really landed with you. I'd love to know what it is, because I'm collecting some of that so that I can understand what the next thing is that I can do to follow up. Over to you, Al.
Thank you very much. And there was a lot of people saying about the overthinking thing. It's something that used to hit me very hard. And now it's just empty up there.
You said that, I didn't say that.
I know, it's true. Right, homework, our favorite time of the week. It's the homework. Number 1, if you're up for it, watch Simon's TED Talk. It's 15 minutes long.
Number 2, remember earlier tonight, you wrote down what changes you're going to make. What 1% small little improvements can you make? Do those.
And number 3, post evidence of doing them in the group. If you're eating a salad, post evidence. Dan, if you get Anita to sleep more, post a picture of her sleeping. That won't be weird.
Not creepy. Going back to the creepy stuff.
I don't know why they're just there on my screen. But report back. Tell us your progress. If you're not on Facebook, tell someone you know about your progress and what you're doing. Like, talk about what you're doing. And we would love that. And just those 3 actions, focus on what you can practically do to look after yourself, and cast a vote through your actions for the fact you are valuable and you look after yourself. That moves on to what's happening next. We will write the email tomorrow. The course notes took me a little bit longer this week because it takes us about 6 or 7 hours to write those course notes. They're a big project. So we didn't get them like fully finished till Wednesday or Thursday, but we will send out the email definitely tomorrow with the homework. The notes will be as good as I can get them tomorrow, and then I'll keep working on them throughout the week together. There's the Facebook group where I love seeing your homework. Please do share it, comment, and give the positivity to the other people.
And next week is week 5 of the 5-week course.
It's our final week together.
We're going to be talking about how to take all these ideas and be consistent and take the action that you need to build the life that you want. So bring it all together and have a bit of a celebration and the final week.
Exactly. If you're watching on YouTube, please give us a like or a comment. We would love that. It makes me feel 1% better. That's the cheesiest joke ever. Dad jokes.
I don't think it's a joke, is it?
No, it's not really. It's true. The resources page, this is where you find all the homework and all the stuff and all the links. If you're not getting the email, sign up to the course. But here is the closing message. So the closing message today is about the moments that change your life. It's you're given a book by someone and you actually read it and do something about it. It's you meet someone out of the blue that shares a new idea with you. It's you get diagnosed with a condition, a disease, an injury, you lose your job, you get divorced, you make your first sale in the business. These are the moments that change the courses of our lives. What I wanted to say to you is you don't have to wait for those things to happen to you. You can start to work in quadrant 2 now, so those things don't happen and you head towards the life you actually want. Don't wait for your health to fail before you do something about it. Don't wait for your finances to go off a cliff before you do something about it. Don't wait for your relationship to break before you do something about it. Take action now, because it is never urgent to eat a salad. It's never urgent to exercise. It's never urgent to sleep better. But these are the things that will lead to the life you actually want. So build the health and the life you actually want. And please, for Simon, Katie, and I, give us the gift of a happy, healthy, and positive you, because that's what we want. So please give us that gift of your health, your happiness. Thank you for coming to the course. Thank you for being part of us. Please come along for the final week. We have some big things planned to you, and we will be around to answer your questions right now. You are awesome. I have nothing more to say other than that. Just give us the gift of your happiness and health. Amanda, that means you.
So we are entering the wonderful and fun interactive Q&A session for the evening. Now, those of you who were with us last week, just a little tip, please start off with your question first. Allow Katie and Alan and Simon to understand the context around that. We want to make sure we get to as many people as possible before Alan and Katie and Simon press the big red button at the end and we all have to go to sleep or off with our day. First up, we have Tahir.
Perfect. Tahir, hello, how are you? And I'd just like to say to Charlie Fleet, who says, I'm going off to head off a bit because I'm tired tonight to get sleep. I fully support you in your sleep. Go sleep. Do it. Excellent. Tahir, it's lovely to see you.
Hi, Alan and Katie. Hi, Simon.
Hey,
Hi.
You know I get stroppy when I don't get answered. You know that, right?
Better deal with
first
Tahir
one.
right now.
What I've got to say is that, first of all, this is an excellent session, excellent course. The whole thing is fantastic.
Thank
And
you.
I would like to affirm exactly what you guys were saying. Okay, record what you're doing. Just if you do that, the food intake you have, improve your life just by a small margin. It really does work. Okay, you write it down, you can see what you're doing, and then you can improve on your habits. Okay, I've got a question for Simon.
Oh,
Simon,
hit me to here.
I'd like to ask you about your depression and anxiety. Number one, how did you actually identify it? Number two, how did you actually cope for it? Because obviously, to get to this particular place in time, you must have had a very, very difficult and hard journey. And I can pretty much warrant you that half the people on this group do not know they actually have depression or anxiety because they deny it to themselves, or they don't actually understand it. Your thoughts, please, sir.
That was certainly my experience to hear. It's an interesting question. I didn't really know that it was going on at all. And it was only later in life that I started to figure it out. I tell you how it happened. It was partly because of Alan's relentless drive for personal development. He took me to a course one weekend, and that started a chain reaction of personal development in a different way. And I just kind of kept opening the next box. Oh, there's another level of this stuff. Oh, there's another level. And I stumbled across a few different techniques and a few things that I experimented with, got some really good results with NLP. And then I stumbled across this guy who sold one of the leading NLP practices in the world because he said he found something more powerful. And I thought, NLP is pretty powerful, but you've got my attention. And it's just sent me on a new learning journey to here, and it's changed everything. It's gave me an understanding that I didn't have, and I can now see a whole bunch of stuff looking back that now makes a lot of sense. So actually, like, my one message from this would be to invest in yourself. There's lots of amazing, I call it technology, but it's not necessarily, I don't necessarily mean devices. I mean new ideas, new tools, new techniques. There's so much amazing stuff out there that's never been more accessible than it is now. And it was by having that relentless desire to understand something. Actually, I tell you what it was, really underpinning it, I was just wanting to help other people not go through the same stuff that I'd been through. And that's something that the three of us have had consistently for years. Since I've known these guys, it's always been about helping others. So I need to go and learn something that's more powerful so that I can have more impact and support other people. And then inadvertently, like I ended up solving one or two of my own problems at the same time.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Absolutely
Welcome
brilliant.
to
Absolutely brilliant.
question.
Okay, should be taught at schools. I've been telling you this, Alan. You should teach this at schools. You know, sort of teenagers and so forth like that, because they don't get this sort of stuff. Anyway, I'm going to shut up now. Okay, you've answered me. So
Good to see you, my friend.
Now. Okay,
Thank you, Tahir.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, I actually started doing the entrepreneurship courses in schools way back when, and I'd love to spread it more. But like, yeah, our version of doing it is making it free and online and giving it to as many people as possible. So if you have a teenager, maybe like tie them up and force them to watch our videos. A few people are laughing. I was serious.
You've got a real thing about kids.
I don't know why I'm talking a lot about tying people up tonight. We should move on quickly. Anita, are there any more questions, or have we defeated the party already?
There's 3 hands up.
There's
Yes,
3 hands
There
up.
are more questions. There are more questions. Hopefully not about tying people up. Next, we have Kingsley from Georgia, USA.
Kingsley, I've loved your messages tonight. It's lovely to see you.
Oh, thank you.
Hey,
And hi, you guys are awesome folks. And I just thank you for putting the time in and effort to do all of this. I'm very nervous, but I just want to say thank you, and plenty more things. With the alignment exercise, were we supposed to answer that in our current state and find where we were misaligned, or answer it with this future mindset of I will be this and I am changing? Which mindset were we supposed to answer in?
Did you have something?
Yeah, so the way I envisioned it was you would do it as it currently is, and that's how you can identify the things that you do want to change. And I did this and I went through and I was like, oh, that belief is not matching up with my goal. I need to change that one, and then like work out what the belief needs to change to in order to be in alignment.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say, is like start off with current reality and then think, how do I want to change it? So maybe the current reality is like at the fitness level, I believe like I am a couch potato or whatever it is, and you identify that doesn't fit with the goal. And then you go, what can I change my identity to? What would be a happier one for me? And start to think about the changes afterwards. So yeah, I think current reality first. Change always starts with where am I now?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you can do the alignment exercise twice, one for current and one for future change. Okay, great.
Yeah, and then just start acting like the future one is real. Like then you just become that one and cast votes for the new identity by following through with the actions, work towards it 1%. Like we just start moving as quickly as we can towards the new one, and we just start being it.
Okay.
Does that help at all, Georgia?
Yeah, it does.
Kingsley.
Yeah. Kingsley. Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry, I just called you your state name instead of your name.
I
feel very embarrassed right now.
So I answered to both mostly.
I'm going to start calling you Hampshire from now on.
No, don't call me Hampshire.
Or Basingstoke.
Basingstoke.
I prefer that. Thanks, Kingsley. You're awesome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. And next we have Deandra Fields.
Deandra
You're full
also
naming
put
people
lots of comments in, which I loved. And you've got a periodic table with elements at the side.
Yes, I do.
Genius.
I love that.
Yeah.
I want one of
Hydrogen,
those.
helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon. That's as far as I can remember, Deandra. That's all I got. I can't stop
Awesome.
there.
That's pretty
What's
great.
what's the atomic number of rubidium? Anyway, moving on.
69.
Yeah. We can do that
Okay.
later. Yeah, so my questions for you, Alan. You said at the very end, don't wait for your health to fail before you do something about it. So I've lived that and I totally get it. Like when you have this big health crisis, you're like, wake up, change everything, do all this. So how do you reach people who haven't had that breaking point yet, but still need the help, right, to make their health better?
So I think I have a little bit of, and I've tried to teach the finance stuff at universities, and it's almost as if the 18, 19, 20-year-olds haven't had enough pain to understand why they need it. And pain is an incredibly powerful motivator. But what we're saying is don't wait for the pain. But you kind of have to make the pain real for them. If you keep heading down this path, this is where you're heading. I know I've been there. And some people will not listen to you, and there is nothing you can do. And they actually need to have the pain before they change. And that's heartbreaking when it's someone you know. But you just need to positively be the example you want to see, positively keep like going through the energy, going, I want to help you. But it is tough because sometimes people need pain to change. It's like they will not accept that will happen to them, which I hate.
Yeah, I don't want fear to be the main motivator, yet that seems to be what people use.
It's 6 times more powerful than pleasure. Unfortunately, the psychological studies say if you want to motivate someone, and when I talk about pain, I'm talking about like the thought of something going wrong, the thought of bad things. It's not like I'm physically jabbing someone with a knife in the side
Or tying
them up. There's none of that stuff. But pain versus pleasure. And actually the best way to motivate people in general is a combination of the two. Is like, here's where you will end up if you don't change your ways and there's pain. However, there's a better way to do it. And like, let me help you feel healthy, feel good. This is where it is. But if people don't value the pleasure you're selling them at the end, like they're not going to change.
Yeah. Okay.
I had something to add, Deandra, which is, I feel like this is a question that I should be answering if it's got the word pain in the thing. So this is my territory. It just made me think, because it's often a thinking problem, right? So people are thinking certain things in a certain way, how they're currently processing the world, and the reason that they're behaving in the way that they're behaving is because that's what currently makes sense to them right now. For whatever reason, it doesn't make sense to you, but that's because you've got a different guidebook to the planet, whereas someone else is operating off the only book that they have, and it makes sense to them. And it's based on a bunch of thinking. And I think a different perspective, and maybe something to try to balance out with what Alan was saying, something else to try is when someone's thinking about a bunch of stuff, quite often the last thing that they need is a bunch more thoughts, because they probably already know. Deep down, they probably already know what they should be doing, and a bunch more information about what they should be doing. It's almost like loads the pressure. It's almost like someone sort of sat next to you going, well, go to the gym then. Go on then, off you go. Like sometimes you get that resistance, and I found a different approach, which might be an alternative to try. And the different approach is love, without any pressure. Because actually what that does is it creates the sense that someone's okay and they're secure. And when people feel secure, they tend not to do so many of the destructive behaviors. If they're feeling certain and secure and loved, they don't need to go and do whatever things are actually preventing them from living a happier, healthier life, right? So actually it's like that thing of, it's exactly why, without starting a new debate, why fat shaming doesn't work. Like when someone says to you, oh, like you've put on loads of weight, you look, you're looking really rough right now. Christ, you're really fat, aren't you? Actually, it doesn't often motivate people to get slim. It actually compounds the problem. So actually it's dial back from the pressure and reduce their thinking rather than add more thoughts to it. And then they'll figure it out for themselves. And actually they probably already know. So it's like, for me, that love creates the conditions where someone can actually make some better choices for themselves.
Okay, great. I love that. That's really helpful. Thank you, Simon.
And that's a really cool question. Thank you. Love it.
Thank you, Deandra. Thank you for coming. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Simon. You can't force anyone to do anything against their will. And I do think like loving them, giving them care and saying, I care about you and I'm worried about the direction it's heading. Can we I think that's a really good, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, need more love. I need more love, Alan.
Yes.
Or just tie them
I
up.
was about to burst into song then.
What is it? It's an iron rope.
I don't know.
Let's
Move
get
on
Christina
quick.
in.
Anita, save us.
Oh, why do you keep bringing it back to tying up people?
We'll put
What
that
have
in
you
the
watched
notes.
recently? Actually, I don't want to know.
Oh, wow.
Next we have
Oh, yes.
Christina Mate. Say that right? No, sometimes you pronounce the J, sometimes you don't.
Christina, are you there? Calling
I
Christina.
am here. Hello.
Is it
Hello.
cold where you are?
Hey, Christina.
Yes, it's freezing. I'm in London, so we have a lot of snow. Saving on heating. So
I love
I'm
that.
just in my hoodie that covers me down to my ankles. Really
Oh,
cold.
I love that.
I need one.
Yeah, definitely recommend one time. All right. It's quite late, so I'll get on with it. Any tips on how to get unstuck when the low energy is caused by a condition for which I'm still waiting for treatment for? So I love this course and I'm with it completely, apart from you need to do something to get energy, because there's literally nothing I can do until I get a treatment.
I have an instant reaction, which is based on the NHS and my experience of them. The NHS are amazing and very caring. They're also overloaded. And quite often people don't play up the conditions they've got. So some of the staff that I've been to at the NHS are like, well, it's not that bad, just survive with it and we'll get to you later. And I've had to say, no, this is unacceptable. I can't live like this. I need help. I need to find treatment. And you actually need to push quite hard.
I do.
Okay, so that was my...
So my thing it's perimenopause, and the GPs are quite uneducated. So I keep going to my GP with printed out stuff and we having debates, but he's just very tentative on a treatment and I can't go private. I'm a single mom in debt. I'm okay, but I can't afford to go private or alternative. It's just not an option right now. But I was just wondering this maybe from your experience, obviously not with my perimenopause, but experience with not feeling that great or, having a low point. Is there something that maybe I haven't thought of to kind of get my energy up a little bit so I can just function a little better?
I've got a few thoughts.
Okay.
My first thought was the thinking about the thing is just as heavy as the thing itself. So my first thing, what I mean by that, Christina, is when you're going through the situation that you're going through, it's highly likely that you've spent a lot of time feeling frustrated about the progress that you haven't made. So that in itself is going to make the load feel heavier. So your well-being is going to be under pressure from all of the extra thoughts that you now have about your frustration, what you wish you could do, what you can't do, and so on. So I think that my first step would be to watch out for the overthinking, because it's heavy and it's time consuming, and that in itself is exhausting. What I instead, an opportunity here for you, I think, is to be kind to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Take a deep breath. Keep breathing for me. And then there's plenty of other stuff out there that is nowhere near conventional medicine. There's lots and lots of insights and knowledge and podcasts and content and experiences that other women have shared, where they talk about having life-changing experiences, and they've been driven to find out different solutions for themselves because conventional medicine doesn't have the tools to be able to support and help you right now. It just doesn't exist in medical doctors. Some it does, but it's almost by accident, where they've learnt it themselves. And I think that might be some place to hunt, and I bet you've already started that journey. Keep doing that.
I am from that background, so I have relatively good knowledge. I just don't have the cash.
Yeah, cool.
The stuff that does help, unfortunately, cost money on a regular basis. Not even just like you get something one-off. Like this is for life. Literally, until I die, I will need some kind of treatment. So, because I'm really sensitive to the fluctuates of the hormones. I'm not gonna bore you with the details.
Yeah, no, cool. No, that's cool. I get it.
Yeah. It's
well,
just
I get it to a
more-
point. Like I guess like my third thought, Christina, is, I mean, I think just going back to our 1% conversation earlier on, I think quite often when we talk about this stuff, we talk about doing what you can do and starting there. And if you could find a 1% gain in something in your life, like even though that you're in the situation that you're in at the moment, you have it within your power to make things better than they currently are. So those were my initial thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, even like as I was listening, because I had a question ready before we started, and the 1% stuff has definitely like, oh, okay, that definitely could help. And I have thought about it before, but perhaps I need to think better about what it is that's actually doable, not to be too, what I would say, not to be too, like my expectation not to be too high of myself, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right, because I think that's going to, like Katie was saying earlier, that's going to create a distance between where you currently are and where you want to be. And that ain't going to be a happy place for you. So start where you are, look for the 1% gains, have a relentless search within your current energy levels to look for holistic alternatives, to have conversations with other women that have been through what you're going through and how they've been able to make life better. And my final, which was the first thing I said, was be kind to yourself and watch out for overthinking, because that's going to make things worse.
Yeah, well, overthinking is my middle name, so good luck to me.
Watch the TED Talk, Christina. I meant it for you.
I will do. I'm doing it straight after this.
I had one thing I just wanted to say at the end, which was, I think you're very brave for asking. I think you're amazing. And there's been a huge amount of comments in the chat. Like afterwards, read the comments or just copy them out and read them, because there is some fantastic advice. And the thing we always say, that within a group like this, there's always ideas and energy. And there's so much love for you in the group. I think it's amazing, such a supportive group. So, yeah, you have our support and we know you can do it. And if we can do anything at all, like there's people doing stuff there, there's some incredible comments, and you are brave. I'm super impressed that you came and chatted to us. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you. And yeah, the course is absolutely amazing. So thank you for your time and energy that you put into it. And please leave the call going until I can copy all the comments.
Absolutely.
We always save the chat. So if you
don't get it, message us.
We can send it to you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Christina.
Thank you.
Also,
Bye.
Christina, just to let you know, my best friend just went through a lot with her menopause. She got it quite early, and it had basically, they found out the symptoms she was having and how she was feeling about herself, depression, everything. It had been going on probably undetected for 5 years because of the uneducated GP practices. And she actually had to switch GP practices after lots of recommendations. And you wouldn't be surprised, her first appointment, they're like, you need HRT. And they put her on it right away. And she's doing so much better. It just happened. She's been on it for about 6 weeks. I mean, I know, as Simon said, there are probably so many other approaches and holistic approaches as well. But yeah, sometimes it does take maybe a second medical opinion, and you don't have to go private. Just research all GP practices around you, maybe female, and those sorts of things. But I wish you all the best, and thank you. Next, we have Sonia's Healthy Kitchen.
Sonia.
Is it just going to be a picture of a kitchen, or is there a human involved?
No, I think...
Yeah, I can't add spotlight.
Yay!
Oh, there we go.
Hey. Hi, guys.
Hey, Sonia.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not in my kitchen because it's only just been refitted. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Katie. Hi, Ellen.
Hello.
So nice to see you.
Yes. So it's a bit dark in here. I'll try and get some light.
That's
Can you
okay.
see me all right?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. So thank you guys for putting this together. As always, you know, I'm a massive girl fan of you guys. Love you loads. We go way back. Yeah. So, and yeah, so it's amazing. And it's just a thing that with life, you're constantly learning. And even when you think you've got to that point where you're, yeah, I've sorted all out, there's definitely things that you can learn and continue to learn. And as we grow older, the need to learn changes, or what we need to learn changes. So it's amazing. And it's just listening to what all the other people, and especially the women in the groups, and just listening to Christina now with talking about the perimenopause, Simon talking about depression. These are all things that I have had to overcome over years. And I've just got to that point now where I am in the situation where I can help others so they don't have to suffer or go through what. I've survived 2 suicide attempts. I survived menopause during lockdown. I've lost so much weight. I was a size 22 before, now I'm a size 12. I maintained it for 6 years, and all just using nutrition, only because you go to the doctors and they just want to put you on medication. And I'm like, no, I'm not having that, you know. So it does take work, and it does take determination. And sometimes, yeah, I don't, you know, some days, like with depression, it never leaves you. You just find an easier way to manage it. Diabetes is for life. I have that. So I'm dealing with depression, diabetes, menopause. It's like never ending. It's never ending. But you just have to keep finding ways. And you're getting older as well. So you're dealing with old age atop on all of that. So it's just finding ways and people that will support you and people that will understand what you're going through. So the reason I even came on was I see so many people with needs. So I am starting a course, if this is okay, guys, to Alan and Katie and Simon, if you're okay for me.
We'll
But I
say
just
it,
feel,
Sonia, and then we'll see.
yeah, I was just thinking that I could help, because I have a course I'm developing that will help others do this, manage this naturally. And I was looking for people to help me test out the course. But if people are up for it, you know, let's start taking those steps to living a more fulfilled and happier life more naturally, so we can, you know, we deserve this. We deserve to be happy.
I love
Sonia,
it.
put
Yes.
a post in the Facebook group and tell people about what you're doing.
Brilliant.
I think that's a great
Thank
way
you.
to gather the people. I think that's awesome, and we really appreciate you sharing it.
Yeah. So if any questions, guys, anyone wants to ask me how I manage, you know, any of those things, I'm quite happy to answer any questions. And like Alan suggested, I will put it in the Facebook, because I just feel I'm just touched by people now. And the way Katie and Alan and Simon have always been, you know, giving back to people, I just want to do the same. So I'm here if anyone needs me.
That's
love
so
that.
nice, Sonia. Thank you.
Yeah, and it was
It
so
sounds-
nice to see you again.
Well, it sounds like
Yeah.
there's plenty of people that like would benefit from your help. So thank you for telling us all about it.
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah, and for taking the action. I love someone that takes an opportunity to pitch an idea to 129 people. She spotted the opportunity, Sonia,
Well,
and you went for
I'm
it.
learning
Love
from
that.
you guys, aren't I? I'm like,
Oh, yeah, you've got some people taking up your offer already, Sonia. So
yeah, brilliant. Yeah, let's do this. Let's do this, guys. We've got
Awesome.
this. We've
have a
got
look at the
this.
chat,
Awesome.
Sonia.
Thanks, Sonia. Thank you for coming. Awesome. Right, Anita, question. Do we have another question?
Yes,
Is there
it's
two
us.
more?
It's
Two more.
us. I have
Oh, it's you. Anita and Dan are next in the queue.
yes, we
Yeah, sorry to jump in.
I know.
No,
No, you're
you're
not.
you're valuable participants
You
just
are
as well.
Valuable humans too.
I mean, I have been in control, and I'm not gonna lie, I could have just put myself at the front of the line, but I because I'm not that person.
It's very honourable of you, Anita.
So our question, Dan, take it away.
Yeah. So first of all, as everyone has said as an intro, thanks guys. This is fantastic. Really appreciate all your generosity and the fantastic running of this sessions.
Question first.
So I'm going to shut up on that because I am going to get beaten up. A question. So look, we're loving this, and it's important to do this for your own good. But we're in it as a couple. You know, we turn up every week as a couple. And we really want to support each other as a couple through this journey and through the success or happiness outcomes and so forth. So, but it's not without its challenges. And you know, sometimes conversation can spark conflict. So I suppose our question is, what are your best hints and tips to collaborate, to have those conversations, to support each other along the way and limit that conflict?
Great question.
Can I give you a little example in terms of context? It's like, for example, I'm quite self-motivated to exercise. You know, I've been doing it since I was 14. That's one area where I'm like, okay, I'm on a roll. I'll make my schedule. I'll say, can you watch Mila at this times? Oh, that's our daughter, by the way. Can you watch her at these times? I'm going to go and I'll plan it because I'm quite in control of that. I can plan it. I don't need any accountability from anyone. But in other areas I do, like for example, sleep, not looking at phone. Whereas for him, he's the opposite in terms of that realm of life where he, because of work, a lot of things and stories and who knows what, he perhaps isn't as proactive in that way as I am not proactive in various other ways. So I don't want to, he wants support sometimes and I want support from him and sometimes, but it's like, how do you find that happy medium where you're actually supporting them and not nagging and be like, oh, did you do that? Can I ask you if you exercise this morning? You know, without, you know, not inflicting conflict.
When?
Got it.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
question.
They got the question. Thanks, Dan.
Got it. Love it. Okay.
I got
Katie,
something.
you've got an initial thought, and yeah, we've been fighting this stuff for years as well, and I know Simon has, and I think in any relationship you go through this stuff.
So I think what it made me think as you were talking was I've done this a lot in the past, is assuming that Alan needs from me what he gives to me. Does that make sense? So for example, I'm not always very good at looking after myself. So I need like the nagging / encouraging / gentle bullying of like
Tying up and holding down and all that stuff.
Different
Of
workshops.
You may enjoy that. Oh, but
of being like, I need that. And then I'm like, oh, like my subconscious is like, oh, that's how Alan loves me. Therefore, I need to love Alan like that in reverse. And he doesn't need that from me. But I try and like force it on him. And that doesn't go down very well.
No, it doesn't go down well. So I think it's like each of you need different things in different ways, and it's realizing that and looking at that. And then the other bit is sometimes like Katie's been very good because like my weight is my biggest incongruence and my problem over the years. And Katie's been very good because she does things to support me. So she like eats the same food. She does the things with me, and that really helps me. And the second bit I wanted to say was about the, like, always come back to what the purpose is. So I am saying this because I love you, I care for you, and I want to help. And I might say it in the wrong way, but my intention is to help. And then say whatever it is you need to say because you want to help. because I think sometimes we forget that, and it's just like, stop nagging me.
Which I think goes both ways as well, doesn't it? It's like always assume that your partner is doing it from that place of love, and that's often where we fall out again as well. It's like, Alan's having a go at me, and it's like, no,
I'm
he's
not
trying
having a
to
go
help.
for you. I'm trying to care. I'm trying to help, because I think this is the case. Katie's done really well recently with saying the sentence, my story is, and she goes, my story is you're having a go at me for this. And I go, that's a good story. It's not my aim. My aim is to do this. And that actually has helped us lighten it, because she says my story is this. That really helps me to do it.
I've made up a story in my head that you're annoyed with me for blah, blah, blah. And he'll be like, no, that's not true. I'm like, okay.
Sometimes I'm annoyed at someone else and I'm just sounding annoyed near
face.
Katie. Yeah. And I think, those are all things we're starting to learn and starting to work towards together. I'm sure Simon has a couple to add as well, but those have helped us. And I think I'm always focused on how do we create the life of our dreams? And I just keep repeating, I don't care who's to blame. I don't care what happened. I don't care about the past. All I want to do is like, let's work on having a better future. Like, if I messed it up, I'm sorry. How do we figure out that it doesn't happen again? If you messed it up, don't care. Like, I love you no matter what happens. How do we figure out so it doesn't happen in the future? And I just keep repeating that.
I get it as well. It's frustrating because Anita, you've like got in this great habit of exercising, and then you're like, oh, it's so easy. Like, just do what I'm doing. Like, why are you not doing it? Like, just do it. And
Dan's like, I'm sleeping really well. You're so annoying.
No, he's not. He's not.
Oh, okay.
But it's like, yeah, that frustration is hard. You kind of, I think, going back to what Simon said of the coming from the place of love as well, and giving Dan the space to work it out for himself rather than beating him over the head with it.
And that's the thing. Like, literally, when Simon was talking about the love bit today, and we were having a little side convo a lot tonight, I think, well, I kind of want you around for me and Mila, selfishly, like, because he's not like obese, like, you know,
he's a good-looking chap. Like, looking at his face, you would not think unhealthy.
He is actually here, you know. Like, I don't, just in case we've forgotten that.
But for me, it's about heart health. It's about, like what you were saying, building muscles and everything like that. And I think, you know, you get into bad habits when you have a little one, and, you know, post marriage sometimes, and you know, and busy with work and focusing on other areas of your life. And it's like, we're aware of areas we need to improve. And it's the communication where it's like, no, I know you said you really wanted to work on this. How's that going? And are you working it out for yourself?
You need to
let
ask
Simon talk. Let's
okay.
Well, just do that one very quick.
Well, it's just,
I'm joking. Go on.
like, ask Dan how he wants you to support him rather than deciding how he needs your support.
I know, it's funny. I asked that while you guys were tonight as well. I was like,
and then did you say, oh, that's actually wrong, my support will be provided in this way?
no, I did not.
You've got her down to a T. You know her so well.
And then the final bit on that is
the domestic later. Yeah, go on.
It's asking, what are you optimizing for? So instead of like going, you're doing this when you said you wanted this, it's like, so what are you optimizing for at the moment? And they say, actually, I'm really tired. I am optimizing for convenience.
Yeah.
And you can have a chat about it, and it changes the way you talk about it, rather than, you said you wanted health and you're eating a burger, like judgment.
He doesn't. We actually eat very healthy.
But whatever the thing is,
Yeah.
Like
No,
a random
yeah.
example.
Yeah. I guess the thing is, it's how we communicate about it and support each other without. But yes, Simon, I'm interested to hear what you have to say. You've been very silent.
I have, yeah. Get your notepads out.
Wait,
I'm just
I got
kidding.
Post-it.
I'm just kidding with you. I think what really struck me, I think, Two things. One is if you've got an area of your life that you're not currently happy with, for whatever reason, you know, the three areas that we've talked about tonight, or the other three foundations of health, you know, hydration, breathing, and thoughts, or whatever. If there's an area that you're struggling with, then that's likely to be, you know, it's a little bit like if you've got a bruise. Like if someone comes along and presses that bruise, it makes you want to like go, you know, you kind of withdraw your body. And I think emotions are a similar thing. If you've got like a tender area that's driven by the way that you're thinking, or, you know, whatever's happened that's led you to this point, I think we need to be kind and gentle. I think there's but I think there's a balance as well, because I think what I've heard is some masculine energy of we got to do this, we got to do that, we got to make changes. But I think there's as much merit for the being side. Like there's some doing to do, but there's some being. There's the feminine energy, which is like, let's just love and nurture and care and know that everything's going to be okay. Like really know in your heart that everything's going to be okay. Just breathe. That's my first thought. Like, just breathe. It's going to be cool. Like, you guys have got this. It's all fine. Right. And that made me, you reminded me of, like, if we go to the other extreme, the best conversation I had with my ex was in our entire journey together. Sadly, looking back, the best conversation we ever had was on the 8th of March 2020 when we separated. And the reason it was the best conversation is not because we were separating. The best conversation happened. In fact, a similar conversation happened a few months later, which normally would have led to some kind of argument. It was the best conversation is because I showed up fully present and listened without judgment. And I think what often happens is if there's a conflict over an issue with a bruise, if there's conflict, it's usually because, like, my assertion is that it's because you're out of connection in that moment. So I think there's something about being, you know, when you're taught to listen, when you're like earlier in your career, they go, right, active listening, you need to nod your head, like you need to smile and repeat back what, like, you don't need to do any of that stuff if you are actually listening. But I don't mean listening with your ears, I mean listening with your heart. And there's that wonderful thing, which is just be fully present. Because when somebody says the words, I need to exercise, it's that on the face of it, surface level, it sounds really obvious. Like, okay, you need to exercise. But when you say need, like when you dive into it, what do you actually mean by need? Like, how big is the need? And what do you mean by exercise? What kind of exercise, and when and how, and what do you enjoy? What don't you? There's so many layers to that you can only, and it's so complex, even in such a brief sentence like that, you cannot possibly understand what someone's saying unless you listen to their heart, because there's not enough information in the words. So where there's conflict, it's pointing to, in that moment, one or both of you are thinking a bunch of things. Like Alan's got a tone of voice that I know. Like when Alan's annoyed about something, like if I'm not careful, I'll tell myself a story about what's going on in his head because I recognize that tone of voice. That's something I've heard before, and I'm attributing that tone of voice to something that's about to piss me off, right? So, and it's like, but the poor guy hasn't hardly said anything yet. Like he's, but it's that story around it has pulled me out of connection because I'm now judging what he's either said or is about to say. Whereas if I'm fully present with him and I'm just want to, with my whole body, I just want to understand and just be present with you for a moment and just really connect. I'd love you to try that out because there's richness in there. You know what I mean?
And I think it is a little bit of a lost focus on connection and one-on-one time because we've been living with in-laws for 9 months in a small house. So we have, I think, a lot of reconnecting to do and focus. We've still been keeping up with our finance meetings every month. So I think maybe doing something similar, but I think a lot of this brought up stuff because actually Dan had got some big health tests done recently, and you did get yourself in a little bit of a,
get it.
all
Me too.
worried and freaked out, but
Yeah.
fine. The fact that they want to speak to him in January just over a call shows they said it's not urgent. They were very happy, but obviously that brought up, I think, some things that, he wants to change. And in the past, when I said, okay, I'm not going to nag you, I'm not going to say anything, he'll say, or I'll say, even in that instance, no, I need you to say something. But yeah, I think we need to reconnect.
Yeah, Anita, story alert, just for a second, if I may. The in-laws narrative, like I do get it, but it popped for me as a story. I went like, what if it wasn't the fact that you're staying with it? What if that was a gift? What if you had ample opportunities to connect? You just need to do it deliberately. And the good news is, like, it's what we're designed to do. You don't actually have to do anything. You just got to be together and just sit and breathe and hear each other's heart. We want to get Vanya on in a second, but Alan, go ahead.
I was just going to say, let's get Vanya on. This has been a wonderful conversation, Anita and Dan. And I'd just like to highlight Yuri's comment that Anita's husband looks almost perfect. So you're getting a lot of love in the chat there. A lot of love.
What's my extra 1%?
Absolutely perfect. Not almost perfect.
Sorry.
He is. Yeah. He is.
Dan, I appreciate it's tough for guys like you and me. I do understand that, but I lovely question. Lovely question.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it. Again, we'll get off stage.
Yeah, sorry for taking up so much time.
No, it's a really important question.
Thank you. Vanya, take it.
Hey, Vanya.
Hello.
Hello.
Good evening. Right. So thank you very much, like everyone. It's just been really good course. And I really love how you got the complexity of the structure of the course, like one after another, next step, and like how you need to go to get to the next level. So something practical for me. I've been like doing lots of self-developing and meditation and work, and I've got lots of stories, and you get the stories, and you had this beautiful table with the legs, and we need to prove to ourselves, but it just feels like forever. It's like I know the stories, and I haven't got any inspiration to do anything at the moment, but life is good enough, and I'm just stopped and trying to feel good for now. But and revealing all this stuff. But the thing is, it just feels it's forever. I've done therapy, I've done hypnotherapy, I've done self-hypnosis, and it's just, I was thinking if you have any way more practical of proving, because these beliefs and stories we have, they are in our subconscious, and they are from the childhood. They are been there forever, and really, really like blueprint. So I've been watching my thoughts, and I like the video, the TED talk about the thoughts, that they are there, but they coming, and I've been watching the thoughts, and I know they coming from this story, but it's still there. I mean, how you change it? In a way, I've been aware of doing journaling, and it just feels like it's forever to change a story.
Thank you for the question and the energy. I think we probably have a lot of thoughts about this. Simon, did you have something? Katie, do you want to?
I could probably talk about this one for some time, but do you want me to start, or have you got something to start?
No, I want to know the answer as well.
Oh, yeah, cool. Well, I think that was part of my answer is it's not anything to be scared of, Vanya. Because it's just the human condition. Like, it's one of those things, you heard that thing about how superpowers, like whatever your superpowers are, there's always a flip side to that thing, right? And our superpowers as human beings is the ability to create anything with our minds. Like, we've dreamt up rockets, airplanes, cars, skyscrapers, all of the things that human beings have created has come from our ability to create. Superpower. And our biggest Achilles heel is that we've got the ability to create anything with our minds, including a bunch of stuff that isn't real. So a minute ago, you said the word blueprint. You said, well, all of these stories have come from when I was a child. It's a blueprint, and they go on forever. Like, if that was
I can notice the patterns again and again.
Yeah, I understand that. Well, what if it wasn't patterns? What if the pattern is you saying that it's a pattern? That's the pattern that I heard.
Okay.
You see what I mean? So if here's what I mean. And I remember Adam was talking about this last week, I think it was, with do you remember the table that's got the legs of beliefs?
Yes.
What I heard from you was reinforcing the belief that the stories that you're telling yourself are a pattern that repeat over and over again. So actually, what's kind of happening is that you've popped yourself in a loop. You go, oh, look, I've got a story. Oh, look, there's a story again. You see, the stories keep coming back over and over again. Well, the truth is, as human beings, we always think stuff. It's what we do.
Yeah.
Now, what we can do with those thoughts is I call it weaponizing. Someone told me that phrase once. It's like, I'm having a thought about something. Now I'm going to turn it into a weapon that I can hit myself with at the same time. It's like it's like here's a thought. Now I'm going to hit myself with that thought as well. Not only have I had the thought, I'm now having a thought about the thought. Like, take it from me, Vanya. I've got I have many years of experience in overthinking. Like, I can see it when it's coming. And that's exactly what I used to do too. But here's what happened. I went, oh. Anyway, onto whatever the thing is that I need to do next. Oh, it's just a thought, And I think what I've noticed is that you're caught up in your thinking. There's nothing wrong with that. It's what we do. And you're only one thought away. And this is a double meaning. You're only ever one thought away from having an experience of peace of mind and calmness. You're only ever one thought away. And at the moment,
sometimes that's the problem. It's just like life is boring. It's nothing happen. It's no thoughts. It's nothing. It's like, what is that?
Yeah, it's so interesting, Vanya. I feel like I want to spend a lot of time chatting to you over this one, because that's a story as well. Everything's boring.
Okay.
Nothing ever happens. There's lots of it.
Okay.
It's all right. Come on, Katie.
So how you build the new legs for the new story? Okay, I did a new story. So how I build the new story, the proof to myself that this is the truth.
Yeah. Have you ever, before I hand over to Katie, who's got something to add, I think, or Alan, my final thought is this: there is a risk with this stuff that you become. Have you ever seen a dog try and catch its own tail?
Yeah.
It's like so the thoughts that I currently have aren't giving me the experience of life that I want. So I'll chase the next thought and try and catch it. And it's only when the dog stops chasing after its tail does it realize that it's its own tail.
Okay.
Right. So I guess like another way of saying this is, I'm not sure a bunch of more thinking is going to deliver you the result that you're looking for. My gut feel is less thinking is going to give you the result that you're looking for. And instead of looking for some kind of, magic pill solution to overthinking, is take a deep breath and regularly do it now. You stop breathing again. Take a deep breath and just know that everything's going to be okay, Vanya. You're going to figure it out. But chasing after it and chasing after it and chasing after it, you ain't going to catch it.
Yes. That's what I'm breathing a lot. It's I see what you mean, absolutely fully. Just felt if there is any other way, but I think that is the way. Just stop thinking and that's it.
It's just, instead of like looking for other thoughts, in fact, you don't even need to stop thinking. You just need to know that it is thinking. And look for a feeling of calmness, not for the next set of thoughts that might deliver you a result. That to me, and that's, as I used to wake up a few months ago, as recently as a few months ago, I don't feel calm today. Why don't I feel calm? Let me think of some ways that I can feel calm. It doesn't deliver you the result. What delivers you the result is just looking for calm and being calm. That's it. That's gonna change everything for you. I know that.
Just to happen naturally. Just like you stop
Take
thinking.
the pressure off yourself.
Yeah. Okay.
You don't give someone that thinks a lot more things to think about. You give them less things to think about.
Yeah.
And then something magical, you're creating the space for something magical to happen, Vanya. And you'll suddenly go, wait a minute, I can now hear my heart. It's not hidden behind the fog of thought anymore.
Okay. I trust
Katie and Alan, sorry, I hogged Vanya because I loved Vanya's question. I hogged
love
her.
it.
She's now all yours.
I think the thing that came up for me, and I think this is what Simon was saying, maybe in a slightly different way, is the way that often we try and solve our problems is by doing more of what is actually causing the problem. So it's almost like you're making your prison cell smaller by, like, your way of escaping is making your prison cell smaller. So what Simon was saying is, like, you're overthinking, you're trying to solve it by overthinking, and then you're like caught in that spiral. And I've done that lots of times. Like, I'm really stressed, so let me stress about how stressed I am, and then
Yeah.
you like feed it. And
that's it. It's exactly it. You don't fix someone's obesity by giving them burgers and chips. You don't cure alcoholism by giving someone a bottle of alcohol, and you won't solve some overthinking by having more things to think about. The answer is the other direction.
Okay, thank you. Yeah,
Welcome,
I've been working, and I will keep working on the values and incongruence, and I think that is great.
Be
Great
kind to
way
yourself,
of-
Vanya. Be kind to
Yeah.
yourself. Lovely
Thank you.
person.
Thank
You're
you for coming, Vanya.
Thanks, Vanya. Did someone else put their hand up?
Yes.
Have we won the party? No.
Not yet.
Well, we have Nisa Chuhan.
Nisa.
Hey.
Hey, Nisa.
Hi. I actually just want to add to Vanya because I've been in those situations. I also am personal development addict. And you know, it's that never ending thing of constantly trying to improve yourself. And the only thing I find that works for me, it might help you, Vanya, is just following the breath, and just being present, because in the present moment, everything is perfect. And there is no anxiety of what's about to happen or the regret of the past, because that's what eats our brain up. So if you're just present and you just follow the breath, everything is perfect just as it is. That's all.
Thank you,
That's
Nisa.
beautiful, Nisa. I love that. Really felt that.
When you said breathe and be in the present moment, I went inside my body and it said, I'm hungry.
We'll let
So-
you go eat then.
In this present moment, my body said, are there tacos in
Breakfast.
Mexico?
You want to go out for tacos? You're 1% better.
Uh-oh. Oh, thank you, Nisa. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you, Anita, and all our other helpers tonight for helping.
Yeah, what an incredible team. There are like 10, 12 people who help us write notes, do comments. Tony, who's sat over there, which is really weird because he watches us through a computer screen in the same room. It's a little bit freaky. We put him space so he could like sit next to us, and he sat the other side of the room. But there's this incredible team that make it happen. We couldn't do it without you. Thank you. Thank you for coming on the course. Thank you for being with us. Please do something to work on sleep, exercise, or what you eat. Give us the gift of a healthier, happier, more positive you, 1% by next week. Thank you for coming along. Any last words, Simon and Katie?
Night.
Bananas.
Thanks for coming along, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Good night, good night, good night. Sleep well. Thank you for coming.